Chapter 521. Qin Yu's intention slightly moved. The location where Uncle Fu was at this moment automatically appeared in his mind. At this moment, several miles away from Qin Yu's courtyard, outside of a green and a red pavilion, Uncle Fu was chatting happily with Hong Yu and Lu Shui. Seeing Uncle Fu's radiant smile, it was evident that they were chatting happily. Qin Yu took a step forward and disappeared from his courtyard. When he reappeared, he was already beside Uncle Fu and the others. "Master." When Uncle Fu saw Qin Yu, he immediately bowed respectfully. Hong Yu and Lu Shui were beaming with smiles. With a crisp voice they bowed and said, "Lord Qin Yu." Hong Yu and Lu Shui already knew of Qin Yu's strength. In the divine realm where experts were as numerous as the clouds, they were extremely excited to be able to follow behind such a powerful expert. Qin Yu discovered that Hong Yu and Lu Shui were actually also level 9 demon emperors. Hong Yu, Lu Shui, have you too sensed your divine tribulation? Qin Yu asked curiously. Hong Yu's face was completely red. She promptly said, "Lord Qin Yu, Lu Shui and I have reached level 9 demon emperor a long time ago. Although we have yet to sense our divine tribulation, according to how long our fish clan's companions have been at level 9 demon emperor, I reckon that it shouldn't be long now." Lu Shui opened her limpid eyes wide. She looked to Qin Yu and said, "Lord Qin Yu, I have a matter that I wish to ask Lord Qin Yu for. Is it possible?" "Go ahead," Qin Yu said with a light smile. Qin Yu wanted to know exactly what these two girls wanted to do. Hee. We sisters were bullied by the other male fishes all day long when we were in that pond. It's mainly because we sisters are fish with very weak battle power. Lord Qin Yu, could you bring them in so that we can take our revenge?" Lu Shui's eyes were emitting an excited radiance. Hong Yu also looked to Qin Yu with anticipation. Males. Qin Yu was stunned. How could he have caught so accurately? There were many fish in the pond. Back then he had only casually caught 2. Who would have thought that they were all females, and the rest were all males? "Okay, leave it to me." Qin Yu did not mind. "Do you mind if I ask, how do you want to punish them? If there's no big grudge, a small punishment will do." Red Rain puffed out her chest and said confidently, "Sir Qin Yu, don't worry. I won't take their lives, humph." Then she wrinkled her nose and snorted twice. Qin Yu shook his head and smiled. Ever since Hong Yu and Lu Shui arrived in the Jianglan's realm, perhaps it was because there were too few women in the Jianglan's realm, Wu Lan and Wu He, the 2 emperors of the divine realm's monstrous beasts, both treated Hong Yu and Lu Shui extremely well. Presumably, when he brought those fishes in, Wu Lan and the others would definitely help him teach them a lesson. "Hong Yu, Lu Shui, the 2 of you can return and rest first. Uncle Fu and I will be leaving the Jianglan's realm," Qin Yu said with a light smile. "Yes, Sir Qin Yu." Lu Shui and Hong Yu bowed respectfully and then returned to their own pavilions. Uncle Fu narrowed his eyes with a smile. "Master Hong Yu and Lu Shui, these 2 girls are extremely lively. In these days, I've seen that even young Master Kuro would often have more smiles on his face. There are too few people in the Jianglan's realm." Hong Yu and Lu Shui's lively nature had indeed made everyone's mood a lot better. Seeing their lively and eccentric appearances, my mood also relaxed a bit. Qin Yu looked to Uncle Fu. "Uncle Fu, let's go out now. My formation array experiment has yet to end." "Yes, Master." Uncle Fu nodded respectfully. Just like that, Qin Yu and Uncle Fu disappeared from the Jianglan's realm. The current Mount Bewitch Yu was incomparably desolate. It had been completely burned by the extremely silent heavenly flames. The entire mountain was bare. Those burned stones had a gray and black color on them. Many of the stones had cracked open from the burning. The trees had all turned into ashes. Those large craters were also clearly visible. On this bare and desolate Mount Bewitch Yu, Qin Yu and Uncle Fu suddenly appeared. Qin Yu and Uncle Fu looked to their surroundings. Their faces were filled with disbelief and shock. "Master, this place. Uncle Fu's brows were completely creased. Qin Yu looked to the extremely desolate Mount Biwichu before him. In his mind, scenes of the past appeared. Beautiful mountains and limpid waters, rumbling waterfalls, clear ponds and animals running through the mountains and forests. This is Mount Biwichu. Qin Yu looked at the rocks that were split open by the flames. Suddenly, his gaze shifted to his residence on Mount Biwichu. Like a sharp arrow, Qin Yu shot toward his original residence. As for Uncle Fu, he was like a gust of wind. He floated up and down the mountain and easily arrived at his original residence. This is the pond where Hong Yu and Lu Shui used to be. Qin Yu looked to the large crater. The shape of the pond was still there. However, the pond water and those fishes had all disappeared. Qin Yu felt a burst of anger. Ever since he started experimenting with the formation array, Qin Yu did not have any killing intent toward the Black Dragon Pond. Most of the time he would let people off whenever he could. For example, those who were trapped in the illusion formation at the beginning, didn't they still manage to leave alive? Even for the heavenly deity Xiong He, Qin Yu still did not kill him. When he told Xiong He to kowtow, it was merely a joke. However, in the end, Xiong He really kowtowed. Qin Yu did not mind at all. In the eyes of the current Qin Yu, this was nothing more than a game. Did he really have to kill Xiong He? As long as he took out the godly spear Waning Snow, Qin Yu would be able to easily kill Xiong He. After all, Qin Yu's control over space was on par with Xiong He. However, with Waning Snow, his attack power far surpassed Xiong He's. Master, Hong Yu and Lu Shui said that you should. Uncle Fu stopped speaking after saying this much. Qin Yu started to frown. It was likely that Hong Yu and Lu Shui still did not know that the fishes that had bullied and played with them in the past had already been burned to death. Master, there is no need for you to be merciful and lenient in the divine realm. You spared their lives, yet they burned down this Mount Biwichu. You should demonstrate your power now. Uncle Fu said softly. Uncle Fu knew very well that although his master could not be said to be merciful and lenient, he was still not ruthless enough. If it was the craftsman god Cheho Yuan, if anyone dared to disrespect him, he would have killed them long ago. Why would he care about other things? This was what it meant to be a superior. The higher one's cultivation was, the more one would understand one thing. The heavenly Tao was heartless. Whether one killed or not, one's character was treacherous and kind. None of these things would affect one's comprehension of the heavenly Tao. All paths were interconnected. Of the three great ascender powers of the divine realm, the Azura Sea and Mount Blood Demon were both famous for their massacres. In fact, massacres were easier to increase one's strength and easier to approach the great Tao. Master, although it is still uncertain which of the 8 great families Zhongli belongs to, Master must possess sufficient strength and status in order to obtain the acknowledgement of the 8 great families. As for now, it is time for you to make a name for yourself. Uncle Fu advised. The divine realm was a place where the strong were respected and where strength reigned supreme. No one would pity a merciful and lenient person. Humans could only rely on themselves. Similarly, one's status could only be fought for by oneself. One's dignity could only be defended by oneself. Uncle Fu, let's go to the Black Dragon Pool, Qin Yu said coldly. He turned his head and looked toward the north. The Black Dragon Pool was located several thousand li to the north. This time, Qin Yu finally decided. The current him did not possess the qualifications to obtain the acknowledgement of the 8 great families. However, Xiao He, the Black Dragon Pool, dared to look down on him. Don't force me to use Waning Snow, Qin Yu thought to himself. The divine spear Waning Snow was originally a second-rate spiritual treasure. Now it had started to absorb the dark and yellow energy. Although it had only absorbed a small portion of it, Qin Yu was able to clearly sense the increase in power of the divine spear Waning Snow. Yes, Master. Uncle Fu's face immediately became filled with excitement. Uncle Fu felt as if he had returned to the days when he was together with Cheho Yuan. When they were unhindered in the divine realm, no one dared to disrespect them. Qin Yu and Uncle Fu left Mount Bewitchu one after the other. When they left Mount Bewitchu, Qin Yu immediately saw the shattered Mount Bewitchu steel. Qin Yu was flying a foot above the ground. As for Uncle Fu, he was flying forward gracefully. In terms of speed, not to mention Qin Yu, even high-level heavenly deities were inferior to Uncle Fu. The two of them were relatively fast. In merely 2 hours, they had already arrived at the core region of the Black Dragon Pool. This Black Dragon Pool is truly beautiful. Qin Yu raised his head to look at the unending mountain range before him and said with a light smile. On the way there, Qin Yu had already discovered a lot of people from the Black Dragon Pool. Merely, Qin Yu and Uncle Fu were extremely fast. Thus, they managed to easily arrive outside of the Black Dragon Pool without disturbing those people. Uncle Fu pointed to the mountain range in the distance and said, "Master, the Black Dragon Pool is located in the canyon in the center of the tallest mountains. Within the canyon is a large lake called the Black Dragon Pool. Beside the Black Dragon Pool are 4 palaces. In the center is the Black Dragon Palace. The 3 palaces beside it are the palaces of those 3 low-level heavenly deities. There's no need to bother about those nobodies. Let's directly proceed to those palaces." After Qin Yu finished saying those words, his speed reached his fastest speed. Like a ghost, he rapidly entered the canyon along the undulating mountain range. As for Uncle Fu, he easily followed behind Qin Yu. Traveling through the mountain forest, Qin Yu and Uncle Fu arrived outside of the canyon without disturbing anyone. They stood on top of a mountain outside of the canyon. Qin Yu was able to see the canyon in the center of the mountains with a single glance. This canyon was extremely large. It possessed a circumference of about 100 to 200 miles. As for that Black Dragon Pool, it occupied over half of it. Such a large canyon was truly rarely seen. Uncle Fu, from today on, I shall disguise myself as an expert proficient in using flames in front of others. The true flames within my body have already reached the level of white pure flames. Using flames is sufficient, Qin Yu said with a smile. After reaching the universe realm, the true flames within his body had turned into white pure flames. This had caused the might of the spiritual treasure refining flame wristband that Qin Yu used to increase. The might of the refining flame wristband was dependent on the degree of refinement and the level of the true flames within the user's body. Uncle Fu nodded in agreement. Master, you're now able to use black divine flames that can cover the entire sky. As for white pure flames, I reckon that you'll be able to use white pure flames in a range of several tens of meters. Furthermore, you'll also be able to use a very small amount of void flames. The flames that old master used back then were also at this level. Cheho Yuan was a high-level heavenly deity. The true flames within his body were also white pure flames. Even though he possessed the refining flame wristband, he would at most be able to use a very small amount of void flames. However, even though it was a very small amount, it was still sufficient to refine artifacts. Flames. Black divine flames, white pure flames, void flames. The void flames were the true flames within the bodies of God King level experts. The spiritual treasure refining flame wristband, refined from 9 purple origin flame beads, was already sufficient to allow a heavenly deity expert to use a very small amount of void flames. Hey, who are you? How come I've never seen you before? Suddenly, a man in the canyon saw Qin Yu who was above the canyon. He immediately shouted at Qin Yu. Qin Yu smiled. Like a great rock spreading its wings, he glided through the air above the canyon and arrived outside the 4 palaces. Qin Yu's hands began to form one hand seal after another. Countless rays of light began to float in the air above the 4 palaces. Immediately, the people of the Black Dragon Pool within the canyon began to clamor. Countless deities began to gather from all directions. Heavenly deity, it's a heavenly deity. Madam, let's quickly hide far away. We cannot get involved in a battle between heavenly deities. A youth pulled a woman beside him and immediately wanted to escape far away. I've never seen this heavenly deity before. He's not a heavenly deity from Mount Cold Gold, nor is he a heavenly deity from Mount Sancha. Since when did our black dragon pool have a new enemy? A bald old man said in confusion. That seems to be a heavenly deity from Mount Bewitchu. A youth from the nearly 10,000 people that went to Mount Bewitchu last time said. There were 3 bandit groups outside of Yuchi City. One was from the Black Dragon Pool, one was from Mount Cold Gold, and one was from Mount Sancha. These 3 bandit groups frequently fought against each other. In the midst of the clamor, the 3 heavenly deities of the Black Dragon Pool, Xiong He, Meiji and Taoist Lu Su, all ran out from their palaces. Upon seeing Qin Yu in the air, Meiji and Taoist Lu Su's expressions both changed. As for Xiong he immediately displayed an angry expression. Qin Yu, you actually dared to come to our Black Dragon Pool. You truly have guts. Xiong He extended his hand. That thick spiked club appeared in his hand. Qin Yu had also finished setting up the hand seals. Immediately, a black cover appeared from the sky. The cover was very large. Covered the 4 palaces. Immediately, countless black flames appeared from the black cover. A simple trapping formation supplemented by divine flames. Qin Yu said with a light smile. Xiong He, you all burned down my Mount Bewitchu. Today, I shall burn down your Black Dragon Pool. Chapter 522. The Black Dome covered the 4 palaces, and even covered an area of 5 kilometers around the 4 palaces. Black divine flames rose from the Black Dome, and countless black divine flames attacked the 4 palaces and the people inside them like poisonous snakes. There were several thousand people covered by the cover, and among them were the 3 heavenly deities. These thousands of people were all enduring within the divine fire. They were all anxiously trying to find a way out of this trapping array. With the strength of these deities, they were still able to endure within the divine fire for a period of time. Meiji, Taoist Lu Su and Xiong He were together. In this array formation, there are divine flames everywhere. Moreover, the color of these divine flames is so dense. Meiji frowned. Her body was surrounded by a layer of green divine energy. Under the protection of the heavenly god's power, the divine fire couldn't do anything to her. Taoist Lu Su and Xiong He were the same. There are a lot of heavenly deities in the divine realm that are proficient in using flame attacks. This Qin Yu actually used a formation array to release this many divine flames. Furthermore, judging from the intensity of the divine flames, their power is also extremely great. Said Taoist Lu Su with a gasp of admiration. Black God Fire. However, there were differences in the power of God Fire. Would the high-level deity's true fire be the same as the low-level deity's true fire? Black was also divided into shades of gray, light black, black and thick black. Lu Su, don't speak any more nonsense. Quickly break this formation array and let us out. Said Xiong He in dissatisfaction. Taoist Lu Su could be considered as the #1 expert in the formation arrays of the Black Dragon Pool. He shook his head and said, in order to break through this formation array, I would need at least an hour to properly observe it. However, if it is merely to exit the formation array, it would not be a difficult matter. In that case, quickly get out of the formation. Xiong He directly shouted. Xiong He was disinclined to care about the life and death of the other several thousand people. To the Black Dragon Pool, the loss of a few thousand people was nothing. At this moment, what Xiong He wanted to do the most was to get out of this formation array and then kill Qin Yu. But in that case, I will quickly disperse. Taoist Lu Su's expression suddenly changed. It was not only him. Even Meiji and Xiong He's expressions changed. They hurriedly dodged. 2 pure white fireballs, each half the height of a human, shot towards them at high speed. Just as the 3 of them dodged, the 2 white fireballs brushed past them. After flying for several dozen meters, they disappeared into the countless black divine flames. It's white pure flames. Last time at Mount Bewitchu, that Qin Yu had also used white pure flames to attack me. This Qin Yu is extremely proficient in the use of flames. Quickly, let's leave. Xiong He grew anxious. Meiji also looked to Taoist Lu Su anxiously. Big brother Lu, quickly bring us away from this formation array. These white pure flames are too powerful. Within the array formation, the black divine flames covered every area. Even the white pure flames could only barely be seen when they were several dozen meters away from their bodies. If they were not careful, the white pure flames would burn them. Alright, wait a moment. Taoist Lu Su also took a deep breath. He then formed several hand seals in succession. Immediately, runes, seals and symbols appeared on the black cover. Taoist Lu Su began to carefully inspect them. Meiji and Xiong He also did not dare to urge and disturb Taoist Lu Su. They could only wait anxiously. Alright, remember, follow behind me. The space surrounding Taoist Lu Su started to distort. The space within a range of 10 meters around him started to ripple. Meiji and Xiong He followed behind Taoist Lu Su. The three of them rapidly proceeded forward. After walking for a while, Taoist Lu Su would send out several divine seals to inspect the surroundings. Rumble. At this moment, the final palace with the strongest defense, the Black Dragon Palace, had also collapsed. Under the burning of the black divine flames, the barrier protecting the palace had been completely destroyed. The black pillars of the Black Dragon Palace, the golden steps, had all been turned into ashes by the black divine flames. As for the Lord Bear Palace and the other two palaces, they had already been burned to death by the black divine flames from the very beginning. Within the black divine flames, there were still over 1,000 people struggling. As for the mid-level deities and low-level deities, they were only able to persist for a short period of time before being burned to ashes. These high-level deities were able to persist for a relatively long time. Although their divine energy was being consumed very quickly, their bodies were extremely valiant. As time passed, they were gradually unable to persist any longer. After persisting for a long time, a high-level deity whose divine energy had already been completely consumed was finally unable to persist any longer after being burned by the black divine flames for a cup of tea's worth of time. Like a stone that had been burned dry, his body cracked open. Blood flowed out from his body. The black divine flames rushed into his body and instantly turned his internal organs into ashes. His head was also burned to death. Second brother Yang. A black-clothed middle-aged man beside him roared in grief and indignation. The dark golden-colored divine energy within this black-clothed middle-aged man's body was unceasingly resisting the black divine flames. However, the black divine flames continued to burn him. Even though his strength had reached the peak of the high-level deity level, his divine energy had already nearly dried up. Passing the divine tribulation was merely a matter of resisting the black divine flames for several breaths of time. Furthermore, at that time, the black divine flames were still not that powerful. Yet now, the black divine flames had already burned for half an hour. Furthermore, the black divine flames were much more powerful. Even a high-level deity would not be able to withstand such a long period of burning. Second brother Yang, Lord Xiong He, actually decided to ignore us. That middle-aged man's heart was filled with grief and indignation. He knew that he would soon be unable to withstand the black divine flames. On the eve of his death, he clearly remembered that he and his second brother Yang had spent all these years in the Black Dragon Pool. They had killed, robbed and seized some of the treasures of the Ascenders. Second brother Yang, it was usually us who killed others and robbed others. Never would I have expected that we would be burned alive today. The middle-aged man took a long sigh. And at this moment, a lump of white pure flame was rapidly shot toward them from behind. The middle-aged man did not even have the time to dodge. His head was directly vaporized by the white pure flame. In the entire Great Formation Array, other than the omnipresent black divine flames, there was actually an extremely small amount of white pure flames. When Taoist Lu Su led Meiji and Xiong He out of the Great Formation Array, there were less than 100 people left alive in the Great Formation Array. Miserable screams and furious curses were unceasingly heard. Some were cursing the heavens, some were cursing the person who set up the formation array, some were cursing Xiong He. The majority of these people did not even know Qin Yu's name. Thus, they could only curse him as the bastard who set up the formation array. Right after Xiong He, Taoist Lu Su and Meiji exited the Great Formation Array, they felt the cool and refreshing wind of the ravine. Xiong He, you bastard! Miserable curses were still being heard from the Great Formation Array. Although the number of people cursing Xiong He was decreasing, there were still people cursing Xiong He. Xiong He turned around and looked at the cover of the black divine flames. He coldly humphed. Without the strength to escape, so what if you're dead? What does that have to do with me? Xiong He did not care about those people at all. Suddenly, Xiong He turned around and looked toward the direction where Qin Yu was originally located. Meiji and Taoist Lu Su also looked toward that direction. At this moment, Qin Yu was standing in the air. His black gown was fluttering in the wind. Xiong He, listened carefully. Last time in the trapping array, I spared your life. It's one thing for you to not be grateful, but you actually dared to burn down my Mount Bewitch. Today, I have come to let you know that since I was able to trap you once, I am also able to trap you a second time. Furthermore, since I am able to trap you, I am also able to kill you. Qin Yu's gaze was cold and chilly. Qin Yu, humph, you let me go, yet you still want me to be grateful to you? Haha, you idiot, as long as I catch you, I will definitely kill you. Xiong He laughed out loud. Qin Yu sneered in his heart. This Xiong He actually believed that he no longer had the ability to catch him and kill him. Immediately after, Qin Yu pointed to a formation array with a circumference of a mile below. You've also seen this killing array before. It's the fire attribute killing array from last time on Mount Bewitch. This formation array has already been improved by me. If you have the ability, then try to break through it again. As he said that, Qin Yu had already flown into the formation array. After Qin Yu flew into the formation array's attack did not start. Earlier, when Xiong He and them were trapped, it was sufficient for Qin Yu to set up this killing array. This killing array was easily set up for the second time. The speed of setting it up was also much faster. If you have the ability, then come in. I will wait for you in this great formation array. Qin Yu said with a light smile. Xiong He looked to the great formation array before him. His eyes narrowed. Taoist Lu Su promptly said, Big brother Xiong He, this formation array is a fire attribute grade offensive formation array. Its attack power is definitely much stronger than the trapping array from earlier. The inside of this formation array ought to be completely filled with white pure flames. I know. I've already tasted it the last time. Xiong He shouted in a low voice. Xiong He still remembered the scene of him being surrounded by white pure flames that covered all directions. Had it not been for the formation array collapsing at the final moment, he might have already lost his little life. Having suffered a loss once, how could Xiong He possibly dare to enter it again? As for Qin Yu, who was inside the great formation array, he was looking at Xiong He. Qin Yu had already guessed that this Xiong He would likely not dare to break through the formation array again. The reason why he set up this formation array was merely to frighten the black dragon pool. Qin Yu, if you have the ability, then come out and fight me to the death. Xiong He held his spiked club with one hand and roared. At the same time, Xiong He sent a divine awareness voice transmission to Taoist Lu Su and Meiji. Lu Su, Meiji, when that Qin Yu exits the great formation array and fights against me, the two of you are to seize the opportunity to surround him together and kill him together. One-on-one. Xiong He had already attempted to do so. With Qin Yu's flying agility, it was simply impossible for Xiong He to catch up to him. Even if Qin Yu did not attack him, it was likely that Xiong He would still be trapped by Qin Yu's formation array in the end. Thus, they could only surround and attack Xiong He with 3 people. Big Brother Xionghe, please rest assured. We will definitely seize the opportunity to surround and kill him, said Taoist Lu Su via Divine Awareness voice transmission. Meiji also agreed. Big Brother Xiong, my poisonous soul hook is not something to be trifled with. Xionghe had a face filled with confidence. He turned to Qin Yu and shouted, Qin Yu, what's wrong? You don't dare to come out. With a smile on his face, Qin Yu flew out from the formation array. He extended his hand and a scarlet-colored sword appeared in his hand. A drop of blood appeared on the tip of Qin Yu's finger and dripped onto the scarlet-colored sword. Back then in the Bewitching God Temple's Artifacts Palace, Qin Yu had obtained 68 heavenly divine artifacts. In the courtyard of the Bewitching God Temple, he had also obtained a row of low-quality heavenly divine artifacts. Among them, the heavenly divine artifacts from the Artifacts Palace possessed slightly stronger attack power. Among the 68 heavenly divine artifacts, 4 of them were high-quality heavenly divine artifacts. Among the 4 high-quality heavenly divine artifacts, there was a sword-shaped heavenly divine artifact called Scarlet Blood. Divine Sword Scarlet Blood was scarlet red in color. It was a divine sword of the fire attribute and possessed the special effect of sharpness. Generally, only high-quality heavenly divine artifacts would possess sharpness. Only a small number of mid-quality heavenly divine artifacts would possess sharpness. The difference in special effects determined the might of the heavenly divine artifacts. The special effect of sharpness was a relatively good one. As for the divine spear Waning Snow, it was more powerful. It had 2 special effects, body shattering and soul devouring. Soul devouring was something that only powerful numinous treasures could do. You have a heavenly divine artifact. Xionghe opened his eyes wide in shock. He looked at the divine sword Scarlet Blood in Qin Yu's hand. With a light smile on his face, Qin Yu nodded. This sword is a heavenly divine artifact. Its name is Scarlet Blood. Xionghe, the reason why I fought against you last time was merely for the sake of testing out my formation techniques. Since you want to have a life and death battle with me, I'll also use a heavenly divine artifact to give you enough face. Qin Yu did not dare to mention that the divine sword Scarlet Blood was a high-quality heavenly divine artifact at all. Qin Yu was worried that this Xionghe would be scared away. With a powerful weapon, one would be able to fight those of a higher level. Big Brother Xiong, be careful. Meiji and Lu Su were a bit nervous. They were no longer as relaxed as before. In the Black Dragon Pool, only Lord Black Dragon and Xionghe possessed heavenly divine artifacts. Xionghe's heavenly divine artifact was bestowed to him by Lord Black Dragon. As for Meiji and Lu Su, they did not possess any heavenly divine artifacts at all. From this, one could tell how precious a heavenly divine artifact was. There was no need to even mention a high-quality heavenly divine artifact whose might was comparable to a third-rated spiritual treasure. Even the 8 great clans, without sufficient strength and status, would not be able to obtain a high-quality heavenly divine artifact. Scared? Qin Yu said with a light smile. At this moment, there were several 100,000 people surrounding the ravine. More than half of the people in the Black Dragon Pool were gathered at various locations to watch this battle. Scared? Xionghe sneered. Come. Xionghe, who was close to 3 meters tall, held that spiked club in his hand. He was emitting an astonishingly domineering aura. Qin Yu took a glance at Taoist Lu Su. I remember that you're called Taoist Lu Su. Earlier, you led Xionghe and Meiji to escape from the great formation array that I had set up. Thus, you ought to be proficient in formation arrays. You were the one who set up the Mount Bewitchu, right? Precisely. Taoist Lu Su said with a smile. Motherfucker, enough of your bullshit. Xionghe cursed angrily. He streaked across the sky like a lightning bolt and arrived before Qin Yu with a single strike of his club. Qin Yu effortlessly moved his body and gracefully streaked across the sky in an arc. His movement was so graceful and nimble that the surrounding people were unable to refrain themselves from cheering. As for Qin Yu, he had already arrived in the sky above Taoist Lu Su and Mei Ji. Mei Ji and Taoist Lu Su glanced at each other. They said to each other through divine awareness voice transmission, "A good opportunity." At this moment, Xiong He was roaring angrily. With boundless might, as if he was going to tear apart the space, he once again rushed before Qin Yu. His spiked club that was flickering with an ice-cold radiance smashed down at Qin Yu's head. At the same time, Mei Ji and Taoist Lu Su also soared into the sky. Whoa! The several 100,000 spectators burst into an uproar. 3 against 1. Qin Yu discovered this scene with his divine awareness. However, a smile appeared on his face. His body flew backwards. At the same time, the divine sword scarlet blood in his hand streaked across the sky. Like a waterfall, countless sword silhouettes streaked across the spiked club in front of him. "Break!" Qin Yu lightly shouted. Xiong He's complexion immediately turned as pale as paper. He saw that the nearly 4-meter-long mace was actually split into 2. The nearly 1-meter-long end that was cut off fell from the sky and smashed into the ground with a pang. The several 100,000 spectators in the ravine of the Black Dragon Pool grew completely silent. Chapter 523. The leader of the Black Dragon Pool, Lord Black Dragon, had already disappeared. Usually, the 3 heavenly deities were in charge of the entire Black Dragon Pool. Among the 3 heavenly deities, only Xiong He possessed a low-quality heavenly divine artifact. The other 2 did not possess any heavenly divine artifacts at all. Usually, Mei Ji and Lu Su would also envy Xiong He for possessing a heavenly divine artifact. In the eyes of everyone in the Black Dragon Pool, heavenly divine artifacts were indestructible. However, today, before the eyes of several 100,000 people, that indestructible low-quality heavenly divine artifact spiked club mountain crusher was sliced in half by that scarlet-red sword. The 1-meter-long end smashed onto the ground. However, it was as if it had smashed onto Xiong He's heart. How could this be? Xiong He was completely stunned. His complexion had turned deathly pale. Taoist Lu Su and Mei Ji, who were originally planning to surround and kill Qin Yu, also suddenly stopped. The 2 of them flew over to Xiong He. The 2 of them looked to the divine sword scarlet blood in Qin Yu's hand with a gaze filled with shock. They were scared stiff. The entire ravine of the Black Dragon Pool grew silent for a long time. Suddenly, a thunderous clamor sounded. Everyone became excited. Their gazes were all blazing as they looked to the divine sword scarlet blood in Qin Yu's hand. To be able to slice apart a heavenly divine artifact, it's most definitely an even more powerful heavenly divine artifact. The deities below were all discussing with one another. These deities only knew that heavenly divine artifacts were the most powerful. With their status, they simply did not have the qualifications to know about the existence of grand mist spiritual treasures. Thus, they determined that the divine sword scarlet blood in Qin Yu's hand was a heavenly divine artifact even more powerful than the spiked club mountain crusher. Times, strong wind whistled through the ravine. Qin Yu's long hair fluttered in the wind. Holding the divine sword scarlet blood in his hand, Qin Yu looked to the 3 people before him. "Are you scared?" Qin Yu said with a light smile. The gazes that Taoist Lu Su and Mei Ji looked to Qin Yu and the divine sword scarlet blood with were both filled with shock and fear. As for Xiong He, his entire body was slightly shivering as he looked to the spiked club in his hand that was already a section shorter. The divine sword scarlet blood's divine sword scarlet blood. However, in terms of strength, it was still a bit more powerful than a divine artifact. "If you're not going to make a move, then I'm going to." Qin Yu wielded the divine sword scarlet blood with one hand. Suddenly, the surface of the divine sword scarlet blood ignited with a layer of white flames. As a fire attribute heavenly deity artifact, it was capable of using flames to attack people. The hearts of Mei Ji and the others trembled when they saw the white pure flames. The hundreds of thousands of people below held their breaths again. This was a battle that was worth showing off to others in the future, even if they were just watching from the side. Meiji Lu Su, go all out. Meiji. Now we can only see if that move of yours will succeed. If it doesn't, we can only go against Lord Black Dragon's orders. Xionghe said via Divine Sense voice transmission. Taoist Lu Su and Meiji both nodded. They didn't want to ask Lord Black Dragon for help unless it was absolutely necessary. If they wanted to contact Lord Black Dragon, they had to do it at a specific time. If they suddenly disturbed Lord Black Dragon now, they wouldn't be able to bear Lord Black Dragon's anger. Meiji and Taoist Lu Su's figures suddenly moved. Like the wings of a butterfly, they naturally drifted to either side. A jade-green light immediately appeared on Taoist Lu Su and Meiji's bodies. "Yah!" A furious roar. The muscles all over Xionghe's body suddenly expanded. Hiss hiss. Sounds were being heard unceasingly. His muscles that had expanded by 2 to 3 times were blood-red in color. Furthermore, Xionghe's bones were also emitting a sound that could make one's teeth turn cold. His body slowly lengthened. His muscles expanded. Xionghe was still roaring. The corners of his eyes were ripped open. The blue veins on his face were like numerous blue snakes swimming about on his face. They were completely protruding. "They're all going all out." Qin Yu swept his gaze all around. He had an excited expression on his face. It had been a long time since he last fought. Taoist Lu Su stopped in the air to his left. Taoist Lu Su held a green willow branch-like toy in his hand. His eyes were jade green. He appeared to be very peculiar. Meiji stopped in the air to his right. At this moment, a dark black battle armor had appeared on Meiji's body. Her eyes were ice cold. She no longer had the slightest bit of her previous seductive appearance. Xionghe clasped his hands together and grabbed onto the damaged spiked club. His biceps bulged high. His veins were clearly visible. "Ha!" With a loud shout, Xionghe turned into a blur. In practically a snap of a finger, he had traveled a distance of 100 meters and arrived before Qin Yu. His spiked club was directly smashed toward Qin Yu. At the same moment, Meiji and Taoist Lu Su's attacks had both arrived. Taoist Lu Su immediately released 10 soft green willow branches from his hands. They were directly sent toward Qin Yu to bind him. As for Meiji, she held a very ordinary high-quality divine artifact long sword and hacked it toward Qin Yu. Taoist Lu Su, what a strange attacking method. Qin Yu's body twisted strangely. He actually twisted a distance of nearly 20 centimeters and dodged the attack of the spiked club. At the same time, he moved the divine sword Scarlet Blood in his hand. A scarlet sword silhouette soared into the sky. Like a mirage. It was about to split Xionghe's body into 2. Xionghe's eyes were immediately opened wide. He suddenly changed the trajectory of his spiked club from smashing to blocking. The same time he flew back. Piff. Even though he was vomiting blood to change the trajectory of his spiked club with all his might, even though he was flying back with all his might, the divine sword Scarlet Blood still managed to cut off a meter-long section of the spiked club. It then continued to hack at Xionghe's body. Fortunately, Xionghe was slightly obstructed by the spiked club. Thus his little life was saved. A large wound appeared on Xionghe's stomach. His intestines were about to be exposed. Jade green-colored heavenly divine energy immediately started to circulate around Xionghe's body. In a situation where he was recklessly consuming his heavenly divine energy, his injuries were healed in merely a moment. Qin Yu sighed in his heart. Had it not been for the fact that Meiji and Taoist Lu Su were attacking him, he would have been able to take advantage of this opportunity to kill Xionghe. Qin Yu dodged several times. However, this Taoist Lu Su's technique was actually not inferior to his in the slightest. A soft green willow branch had wrapped around Qin Yu's arm. At this moment, Qin Yu's arm was unable to move in the slightest. What the hell is this? Qin Yu looked to this green willow branch in shock. This Taoist Lu Su's attack was truly too strange. Furthermore, this green willow branch's toughness and strength were both extremely strong. At the same time, the other 9 green willow branches also started to violently attack Qin Yu's head. It was as if they were going to wrap around Qin Yu's head. Not only that, at this moment that Meiji had also arrived. Meiji and Taoist Lu Su were both bursting forth with excitement. Even Xiong He, who had retreated to the side to heal his injuries, also saw the hope of victory. You want to kill me with just this? Qin Yu sighed in his heart. He displayed a light smile on his face. Whoosh! Qin Yu's entire body suddenly emitted white flames. The green willow branch that originally wrapped around Qin Yu's arm was instantly burned to ashes. Against the white pure flames, even the green willow branch was unable to withstand it. Other than that, the 9 green willow branches that were trying to wrap around Qin Yu's head also flew back. Even if I told you to attack, you wouldn't dare to attack. Qin Yu took a glance at Taoist Lu Su. At the same time, Qin Yu completely ignored Meiji's attack. Instead, he rapidly chased after Taoist Lu Su. Let's kill Taoist Lu Su first. Meiji chased after Qin Yu. Qin Yu chased after Taoist Lu Su. Taoist Lu Su fled. How could one play with fire to such a degree? The white pure flames are the true flames within one's body. How could he suddenly release so much of them? Taoist Lu Su was completely unable to understand. Qin Yu laughed in his heart. Taoist Lu Su, how did you know? That of the 2 weapons that I am currently using, the most powerful one is the refining flame wristband. Although the divine sword Scarlet Blood appeared to be powerful, it was only comparable to a 3rd-rated spiritual treasure. As for the refining flame wristband, it was a 2nd-rated spiritual treasure. Once the white pure flames were released, even heavenly deity-level experts would not be able to withstand it. Qin Yu saw how fast this Taoist Lu Su was running away, and then saw that Meiji dared to chase after him. He sneered. Immediately, without any warning, Qin Yu suddenly stopped and then slashed out a sword strike behind him. Like a curtain, the sword shadow tore through the vast sky. Like tofu, that high-quality divine sword was sliced in half. Meiji's eyes were filled with shock. At this moment of life and death, Meiji suddenly turned her head. A sword shadow had sliced Meiji's body in half. Fortunately, Meiji had turned her head at the last moment. Thus, her head was not sliced in half. Meiji's head rapidly escaped. After that, a large amount of jade-green-colored heavenly divine energy emerged from her head. She once again formed a body. Meiji's complexion was extremely pale. To form a body, she had consumed an enormous amount of heavenly divine energy. The several 100,000 troops of the Black Dragon pool below were all stunned. Their 3 heavenly deities were actually beaten to such a miserable state by a single person. Xiong Hei's heavenly divine artifact was sliced in half. Furthermore, his stomach was sliced open. Meiji's body was sliced in half. Her little life was nearly lost. Even Taoist Lu Su, who appeared to be in the best condition, was forced to flee after being chased by Qin Yu. In an absolute weak state. No wonder Senior Craftsman God is so respected in the divine realm. A single high-quality heavenly divine artifact is already this powerful. It's even capable of allowing me, a high-level deity who doesn't even possess heavenly divine energy, to easily defeat 3 low-level heavenly deities. Qin Yu felt even more of the revered status of artifact craftsman. Actually, it was not like what Qin Yu had imagined. The reason why Qin Yu was able to defeat these 3 heavenly deities was because of the assistance from Lu Xing's tier. It allowed his spatial control to be on the same level as the 3 low-level heavenly deities. If he did not possess the assistance from Lu Xing's tier, then even if he possessed a high-quality heavenly divine artifact, it would still be impossible for him to defeat low-level heavenly deities. After all, high-level deities were incapable of even flying. Qin Yu was surprised to discover one thing. Taoist Lu Su, Mei Ji and Xiong He were actually not discouraged in the slightest. They were still filled with fighting spirit. Could it be that they still have some sort of trump card that they have yet to use? Qin Yu was unable to refrain himself from becoming alert. If the three heavenly deities did not possess any sort of trump card, then it was likely that they would have already fled for their lives. Xiong He, Taoist Lu Su and Mei Ji coldly stared at Qin Yu. Ha! Xiong He shouted loudly. His shout was like an order. The three of them immediately rushed to attack Qin Yu from all sides. At this moment, the three of them possessed ice-cold gazes. Courting death. Qin Yu did not care about that anymore. He immediately rushed forward. Qin Yu's charge caused Xiong He and Qin Yu to also rush toward each other. This caused Taoist Lu Su and Mei Ji to be a bit slower. Die! Qin Yu immediately attacked. At the same time, white flames emerged from Qin Yu's body. The white pure flames covered his body. Qin Yu completely ignored the attacks from Taoist Lu Su and Mei Ji and directly attacked Xiong He. However, right at this moment, piff! An extremely tiny sharp hook rapidly pierced into Qin Yu's body. That tiny sharp hook then escaped with a lightning-like speed. However, Qin Yu's entire body violently trembled. The sword in his hand was no longer able to slash out. Like a block of wood, Qin Yu directly fell down from the sky. Bang! Qin Yu landed on the ground. Silence. The several 100,000 people of the Black Dragon Pool that were watching the battle grew silent. At the same time they were stunned. Qin Yu, who originally held the upper hand, was actually defeated just like that. Haha! Xiong He's loud laughter resounded through the vast sky. Haha, Qin Yu, aren't you still going to die by my hands? Xiong He flew down and landed beside Qin Yu. Taoist Lu Su and the pale-faced Mei Ji also landed. Lil sis Mei Ji, I've troubled you this time around, Xiong He said gratefully. The pale-faced Mei Ji shook her head. There's no need to say any more. Earlier, my poisonous soul hook had only been burned by the white pure flame for an instant and had already shrunk by half. The damage this time around, it would take me at the very least several million years to recover. Poisonous soul hook, Mei Ji's natural weapon. Mei Ji's true form was the Pink Reaper Scorpion of the Scorpion clan. The poisonous soul hook contained poison. Its attack was not to attack other things but to attack one's soul. When one's soul was attacked, one would become incomparably muddle-headed for a period of time. The might of the poisonous soul hook was also related to the strength of the Pink Reaper Scorpion. The stronger the Pink Reaper Scorpion was, the stronger the poisonous soul hook would be. Roar! Lord Xiong He! Lady Mei Ji! Lord Xiong He! Lady Lu Su! All kinds of cheers sounded unceasingly. The entire ravine of the Black Dragon Pool had turned into a sea of jubilation. The several 100,000 people of the Black Dragon Pool were all cheering for Xiong He, Mei Ji and Taoist Lu Su. Xiong He, Mei Ji and Lu Su were all smiling. They were extremely excited. Xiong He laughed loudly. Haha, wait for me to kill Qin Yu. Xiong He waved the 2-meter-long badly damaged spiked club in his hand and smashed it toward Qin Yu's head on the ground. Bang! Xiong He looked to the ground with astonishment. Earlier, Qin Yu's body had suddenly moved half a meter to the side. Xiong He's spiked club had only smashed into the ground. And at this moment, Qin Yu had already opened his eyes. He even smiled to Xiong He. Xiong He, one cannot be too arrogant. Qin Yu's divine awareness voice transmission was still sounding in Xiong He's mind. At the same time, hundreds and thousands of scarlet sword silhouettes slashed through Xiong He's body. At such a close distance, there were so many sword silhouettes. In merely an instant, Xiong He was sliced into pieces. His soul, Yuanying, was also sliced into pieces. His soul was scattered. As for his true spirit, it was merely shaken by Qin Yu's sword silhouettes and scattered. At the moment when Xiong He unleashed his sword silhouettes, Qin Yu's body was like a sword. With lightning speed, He streaked across the space and arrived beside Taoist Lu Su. Whoosh! Sword silhouettes soared into the sky. Taoist Lu Su flew back. However, no matter how much he flew back, his body was still sliced into two from the shoulder down. Taoist Lu Su's head flew far away. Fortunately, Taoist Lu Su's reaction was fast. Otherwise, his little life would have been finished. As for Meiji, who was the furthest away, her reaction was the fastest. She also rapidly flew far away. Meiji flew to the side of the Black Dragon Pool. She rapidly dropped down and landed on the side of the Black Dragon Pool. When others saw her, they would have thought that she was seriously injured. As for Meiji, she used her divine awareness to penetrate into the surface of the Black Dragon Pool and sent a voice transmission. Lord Black Dragon, Xiong He has died in battle. Lu Su and I might die at any moment. Quickly, come and save us. Chapter 524. Qin Yu stood in the middle of the ravine with his hands behind his back. As for Meiji, she was lying beside the Black Dragon Pool. Even the seriously injured Taoist Lu Su, after consuming a large amount of heavenly divine energy to restore his body, flew over to Meiji's side and sat on the ground. Silence, suppression. The several 100,000 spectators in the ravine all held their breaths. They did not even dare to breathe loudly. The situation had immediately changed. Earlier, it was Xiong He and the other two that wanted to kill Qin Yu. However, Qin Yu, who was lying on the ground, suddenly attacked. Before many of the deities could react, Qin Yu had already killed Xiong He and seriously injured Taoist Lu Su. Everything happened in a flash. Meiji, when I was lying on the ground earlier, I heard you saying poisonous soul hook to Xiong He. Is that little hook that you used to attack me the poisonous soul hook? Qin Yu lightly smiled and walked to about 10 meters away from Meiji. Meiji was still sitting on the ground. She merely nodded. At the same time, she asked in confusion, "You've been struck by my poisonous soul hook. How are you able to wake up this quickly?" Meiji knew very well about the attack power of the poisonous soul hook. Meiji herself did not possess any powerful attack. Only her poisonous soul hook was a bit strange and special. If her enemy was already prepared for it, then Meiji would be an extremely weak person. Woke up this quickly. Qin Yu smiled. What did she mean by woke up this quickly? Qin Yu knew very well that when he was struck by the poisonous soul hook, it merely caused his soul Jin Dan to tremble slightly. Before he was even affected in the slightest, Lu Xing's tear had already emitted a green light to offset that attack. The reason why he fell down earlier was merely because he did it deliberately. Qin Yu suddenly saw that Meiji and Lu Su's expression had turned strange. He had a strange feeling. Thus he lightly smiled and said, "Meiji, Lu Su, what's with your expressions?" Meiji and Lu Su glanced at each other and lightly smiled. Qin Yu felt a burst of throbbing in his heart. He immediately turned his gaze to the lake behind Meiji and Lu Su. The Black Dragon Pool. Qin Yu knew very well that this large lake with a circumference of over 100 miles was the true Black Dragon Pool. The surface of the Black Dragon Pool had always been as tranquil as a mirror. It was incomparably deep and gave people a kind of soul-shaking feeling. However, at this moment, the surface of the lake that was as tranquil as a mirror actually started to fluctuate. At the same time, a strange and demonic aura started to rise from the surface of the lake. Qin Yu's first reaction was to move his body and fly backwards. In one breath, Xiao Chen retreated 5 kilometers and arrived outside the great array that he had set up. This was a fire-attributed killing array. Once the array was activated, boundless white pure flames would burn. In Qin Yu's opinion, if he sensed that something was amiss, he would immediately enter the formation. The white pure fire was a threat to others, but it posed no threat to Qin Yu. What's in the Black Dragon Pool? Qin Yu clearly felt a sense of crisis. Could it be the leader of the Black Dragon Pool, the legendary missing Black Dragon? Lord Black Dragon had not appeared for many years. Rumble! The black dragon pool began to tremble. The center of the lake began to churn as if it was boiling. The churning grew larger and larger. Suddenly, a figure could be seen standing on the boiling spring water and rising from the bottom of the lake. This person had a height of about 170 centimeters. His muscles were streamlined, and his entire body was dark. He appeared very lean. He had a head full of short scarlet hair that stood erect like steel needles. His scarlet eyebrows were like sharp swords. Beneath the scarlet eyebrows was a pair of gloomy and baleful eyes. "We pay our respects to Lord Black Dragon." Meiji and Lu Su kneeled down on one knee in a very respectful manner and said with their heads lowered. The several 100,000 onlookers were also silent. However, after a short moment, all of the several 100,000 onlookers kneeled down on one knee. In a very respectful manner they said in unison, "We pay our respects to Lord Black Dragon." The voices of several 100,000 onlookers soared through the clouds. This Lord Black Dragon was only about 170 centimeters tall. He appeared to be a youngster. However, his pair of gloomy and baleful eyes made it impossible for others to believe that he was a youngster. Qin Yu carefully observed this Lord Black Dragon. "The battle armor you're wearing is quite special." Qin Yu displayed a slight smile on his face. The divine armor was capable of changing its appearance. As long as one wanted it, it would be able to change its appearance. This Lord Black Dragon's battle armor only protected the majority of his body's vital points. As for his thighs, arms and other parts of his body, they were completely naked. His dark and beautiful muscles were completely exposed. Furthermore, his short scarlet hair and scarlet eyebrows were both relatively rare. This Lord Black Dragon, with merely a glance at Qin Yu felt a sense of oppression. His soul's level is much higher than mine. Qin Yu was very certain. At the very least, this Lord Black Dragon was a mid-level heavenly deity. "You're the person who killed my subordinate, Xiong He." That Qin Yu who is proficient in setting up formations. Black Dragon looked to Qin Yu. His voice had a sort of strange metallic feeling to it. Once those words were spoken, Qin Yu determined that this Black Dragon had already obtained information about him. That's right. Qin Yu faced Black Dragon. His long black hair fluttered in the wind. A rare smile appeared on his grave and stern face. "You're the legendary Black Dragon that has been missing for many years." "I am Black Dragon." Black Dragon's expression was solemn. "Qin Yu, you have a path to life and a path to death. The path to life is to serve me and forget about the matter of killing Xiong He. The path to death. If you don't serve me, then you will die. Life or death, your choice." Black Dragon raised his scarlet eyebrows. He gave off an arrogant and domineering aura. Qin Yu took a glance at Meiji and Taoist Lu Su. He then raised his head and looked to Black Dragon. "Black Dragon, my life or death is something that no one can decide. Even God Kings cannot decide, much less a mere bandit leader like you." Qin Yu pointed his index finger at Black Dragon. Qin Yu's voice was indifferent. His gaze was sharp. He completely ignored the oppressive aura of Black Dragon. Black Dragon slightly raised the corner of his mouth. "In that case you can die." Black Dragon extended his hand. A 2-meter-long black stick appeared in his hand. Holding this long stick, Black Dragon rushed toward Qin Yu at an extremely fast speed. His speed was not fast at all. However, he had created several tens of afterimages. This pace. Qin Yu was surprised to discover that there was something wrong with Black Dragon's pace. Every single step that Black Dragon took gave off an extremely awkward feeling. It was not natural at all. However, it gave off a feeling of a bowstring being stretched taut, as if he could unleash his strongest attack at any moment. What sort of pace is this? No, his aura is increasing. Qin Yu was surprised to discover that in the 10 miles that Black Dragon had been running toward him, his aura had been increasing unceasingly. He did not use his soul's power to increase his aura. Instead, he relied on his pace and rhythm to create an aura that was naturally created. Black Dragon's gloomy eyes stared fixedly at Qin Yu. The baleful aura in his eyes had not changed at all from when he had first appeared until now. It was as if fighting with Qin Yu wasn't worth him using his full strength. If I allow him to build up his aura, his soul's level is higher than mine. If this continues, Qin Yu felt a stifling pressure in his heart. He began to panic. The black dragon in front of him was like an unscalable mountain. Furthermore, this mountain was constantly growing taller. Retreat! Just as Black Dragon was about to reach him, Qin Yu took a step forward, stepping directly into the nearby array. This step was something that Qin Yu had prepared long ago. It just so happened that he stepped through the life gate. Black Dragon glanced at the array Qin Yu was in. Without any hesitation, he charged into the killing array. Times upon seeing Black Dragon enter the array, Qin Yu could not help but smile. You are indeed strong. However, I would like to see how you will withstand the omnipresent white pure flames. Qin Yu's quintessential fire had increased by a level to become white pure flames. This also made the array he had set up this time much stronger than before. Furthermore, the array he had set up was complete. The moment Black Dragon stepped into the killing array, the entire killing array began to produce white pure flames. All the white pure flames surged towards Black Dragon. Black Dragon, who looked like a cold youth, held a black staff in one hand as he coldly looked at the white pure flames. White pure flames. Qin Yu, your attainments in array formations are indeed not bad. Black Dragon's scarlet-red brows rose slightly. He stood there, completely unfazed by the approaching white pure flames. As Qin Yu waited in anticipation, a scene that shocked Qin Yu happened. When the white pure flames reached a foot away from Black Dragon, they were actually unable to approach him anymore. This sort of scene was truly too strange. It was so strange that Qin Yu was unable to believe it. Qin Yu and Black Dragon were inside the killing array. However, at this moment, the people outside the killing array were completely confused. What exactly is happening inside? Said Taoist Lu Su with a frown. Meiji also shook her head and said, We are unable to see clearly at all. Countless white pure flames have filled the entire Great Array formation. Who knows what's happening inside? However, I believe that Lord Black Dragon will definitely win. I also believe that Lord Black Dragon will win. However, it's a rare opportunity to see Lord Black Dragon fight. Yet I am unable to see it. It's truly regretful. Said Taoist Lu Su with a sigh. It was not only him who was sighing. The several 100,000 people watching from afar were also sighing. Countless white pure flames had filled the entire Great Array formation. It was as if the entire Great Array formation had been filled with dense fog. No one knew what was happening inside. Qin Yu, you don't even know about this. Black Dragon had a trace of disdain in his eyes. It would appear that you do not know about the battle style of heavenly deities at all. I truly do not know how you managed to kill Xiong He. After he finished saying that, Black Dragon rushed toward Qin Yu with a lightning speed. The white pure flames were unable to injure Black Dragon in the slightest. This caused Qin Yu to be shocked. However, Qin Yu immediately calmed down. Holding the divine sword Scarlet Blood with one hand, Qin Yu looked at the incoming Black Dragon without moving. When Black Dragon was rushing toward Qin Yu, he gave off a sharp sensation. Whoosh! The black stick in Black Dragon's hand was suddenly thrust forward. As if it had instantly passed through space, the stick arrived before Qin Yu. The long stick was thrust forward while spinning like a poisonous snake. The divine sword Scarlet Blood in Qin Yu's hand was also thrust forward. This sword strike contained the profoundness of the heaven-startling single stick strike. From Qin Yu's point of view, regardless of what kind of weapon it was, it could all use the same type of Tao. He only felt that the spatial energy surrounding the divine sword Scarlet Blood had started to spin and distort. The tip of the divine sword's scarlet blood had pierced through everything in its path. A sharp and clear collision sound could be heard. The tip of the long stick against the tip of the divine sword. Qin Yu and Black Dragon both flew backwards. Amen. Qin Yu was shocked to discover one thing. The high-quality heavenly divine artifact divine sword scarlet blood that possessed the special effect of sharpness was actually not damaged in the slightest by the long stick. Your divine sword is a high-quality heavenly divine artifact. That Black Dragon's gloomy eyes suddenly blazed. He was firmly staring at the divine sword scarlet blood in Qin Yu's hand. What makes you think that? Qin Yu also felt that the situation was bad. That cold and indifferent Black Dragon actually started to laugh. That's because in the short period of time that I've interacted with you, I've already determined that your strength is merely that of a low-level heavenly deity. Yet, a mere low-level heavenly deity is able to fight equally against me by relying on a heavenly divine artifact. My weapon is a mid-quality heavenly divine artifact. Your weapon is definitely not a mid-quality heavenly divine artifact. Instead, it's the even more powerful high-quality heavenly divine artifact. Only now did Qin Yu realize that the long stick in his opponent's hand was actually a mid-quality heavenly divine artifact. Qin Yu, don't resist. Your strength is truly very weak. A smile appeared on Black Dragon's face. Perhaps it was because Black Dragon was too happy to see the high-quality heavenly divine artifact in Qin Yu's hand. Qin Yu coldly humphed. You don't believe me. If I want to kill you, it's as easy as flipping my hand. Black Dragon lightly smiled. Immediately, with Black Dragon as the center, all of the white pure flames within a circumference of 50 meters were avoided. There was not a single white pure flame in this region. As for Qin Yu, he was only a dozen meters away from Black Dragon. Thus he was naturally within this range. Why can't I move? Qin Yu felt as if he had been struck by a body-fixing technique. He was unable to move at all. Black Dragon had a smiling expression in his eyes. A high-quality heavenly divine artifact is sufficient for me to fight against ordinary high-level heavenly deities. Haha. Never would I have expected that I would be able to obtain a high-quality heavenly divine artifact today. Black Dragon, exactly what sort of method did you use? Qin Yu shouted with a frown. Black Dragon was slightly startled. He then smiled and said, Qin Yu, I said that you don't understand a battle between heavenly deities. A battle between heavenly deities. The most important aspect is one's comprehension of space. As a mid-level heavenly deity, my comprehension of space is sufficient for me to possess a spatial domain. Within the range of my spatial domain, I am able to suppress my opponents. I am able to completely disregard other things. For example, the white pure flames. Qin Yu immediately understood. Low-level heavenly deities' comprehension of space is sufficient for them to counteract the gravity of the ground and allow them to fly. Mid-level heavenly deities are capable of forming spatial domains. As for high-level heavenly deities, they are capable of destroying a small region of space. When low-level heavenly deities face mid-level heavenly deities, they simply do not have the ability to resist. When mid-level heavenly deities face high-level heavenly deities, they are the same, said Black Dragon with a light smile. Are you confused as to why I said that I would be able to fight against high-level heavenly deities just because I possess a high-quality heavenly divine artifact? Qin Yu carefully listened to Black Dragon. He indeed wanted to know. Unfortunately, I do not wish to tell you. Right now, I shall bestow upon you death. Black Dragon's body moved and arrived before Qin Yu. He swung his stick horizontally and smashed it toward Qin Yu's head. Qin Yu's eyes shined. Inside the universal world that Qin Yu had created, Qin Yu himself had directly entered the universal world. The universal world's spatial energy. Due to the fact that the universal world was still growing, Qin Yu was only able to control a portion of the spatial energy. Qin Yu controlled the universal world's spatial energy to pass through the obstruction between the universal world and the divine realm. He connected the spatial energy to the point where he had just left, the coordinates. After the spatial energy connected to that point, it still had the strength to spread a distance of about 100 meters. Qin Yu once again appeared at his original location. At this moment, Black Dragon was still looking all around for Qin Yu. When he saw Qin Yu's sudden appearance, he was startled. How did you disappear? Could it be that you know teleportation? No, that's impossible." Regardless of how calm Black Dragon was, he was still unable to understand what had happened. Teleportation. Qin Yu was slightly startled. He had merely entered the universal world and then re-entered it. However, upon hearing the word teleportation, Qin Yu suddenly had a flash of inspiration. Chapter 525. The reason why Qin Yu had returned to the God world from the Qiankuan world was because of the spatial power of his Qiankuan world. Not only could it connect to the point where he had left the God world, but it could also extend 100 meters in all directions. According to what Qin Yu knew, as long as the spatial energy of the universe world could reach the area, he would be able to reach it in an instant. He was able to instantly return to his original position from the universal world, but at the same time, he was also able to instantly go from the universal world to a place 100 meters away from the deity realm. If I instantly return to the Qiankuan world, and then return to the deity world from the Qiankuan world, the area where the spatial energy spreads out will be the area where I can instantly reach. Doesn't that mean I can teleport 100 meters away? Qin Yu was overjoyed. In the divine world, teleportation was a divine ability that only divine kings and above could possess. This was because the spatial restrictions in the divine realm were too great. Only those who had completely mastered the spatial laws would be able to teleport. However, Qin Yu, as the creator of the Qiankuan world, could rely on the spatial power of the Qiankuan world to achieve short-distance teleportation. No, I don't need to go through the trouble of returning to the universe world. I just need to control the spatial energy of the universe world to descend into the divine world and spread it around my body. As long as I am within 100 meters of myself, I can teleport there. Qin Yu's mind immediately came up with a method to use the power of space. That's not all. The spatial power of the universal world isn't just limited to this. I can also use this spatial power to bind others, just like the space domain. Qin Yu's eyes lit up. Furthermore, the universal world is still growing. It's still in its early stages, but it can already spread out to a distance of 100 meters. As it grows, the area it can spread out will also increase. It's just that there aren't many spatial powers that can connect to the God realm right now, so it probably won't be very effective in binding people. Qin Yu's mind raced like lightning. This was the God realm, and the Qiankuan world was an independent world. The spatial energy of two different worlds, the spatial energy of the universal world, would definitely be greatly reduced when used in the divine world. It was far from being as powerful as it was in the Qiankuan world, but even if it was greatly reduced, Qin Yu was still very satisfied. Using the universal world's spatial energy to bind others, even if it's inferior to a mid-level heavenly deity's spatial domain, I reckon it's not far off. Qin Yu thought in his heart. In just a few breaths of time, Qin Yu had already thought of a lot of things. At the same time, Qin Yu had also thought of many more methods to fight against others. Qin Yu speak. What method did you use just now to dodge my sure kill attack? The black dragon's gloomy eyes, which had been filled with killing intent, suddenly blazed as he stared fixedly at Qin Yu. Qin Yu could instantly disappear. Even if it wasn't teleportation, it was likely very close to it. Once one learned this sort of remarkable ability, one would be able to fight against high-level heavenly deities. Why are high-level heavenly deities so powerful? As long as one was able to instantly disappear, the high-level heavenly deity's ability would naturally be useless. Black Dragon's heart began to tremble. He really wanted to obtain Qin Yu's sacred art. What method? This is my master's secret, Qin Yu directly said. At this moment, Qin Yu had already made his decision. No matter what, The ability to teleport cannot be revealed unless it is a life and death situation. Qin Yu knew how abnormal the ability to teleport that only God Kings possessed was. With this ability, if he were to wait until his divine spear waning snow absorbed the dark and yellow energy, he might even be able to fight against high-level heavenly deities. Without sufficient strength, he absolutely could not let the outside world know about this abnormal ability. A secret that won't be passed on. Then, Qin Yu, is it fine if I become your disciple? Black Dragon's eyes shined as he looked to Qin Yu. In order to obtain this ability that he suspected to be teleportation, Black Dragon no longer cared about anything else. The use of this ability was much more important than a high-level heavenly divine artifact. Become my disciple. Qin Yu shook his head. My master only accepts me as his disciple. Furthermore, did you think that you would be able to become my master's disciple just because you wanted to? Black Dragon suddenly woke up from his stupor. That's right. This Qin Yu possesses a high-level heavenly divine artifact. To be able to bestow a high-level heavenly divine artifact to his disciple, how could he possibly be an ordinary person? Furthermore, to be able to make a low-level heavenly deity use an ability comparable to teleportation, a master like him is at the very least a God King level expert. In the entire divine realm, countless people wish to become the disciple of a God King. Indeed, it is not a master that I can become just because I want to. Black Dragon's scarlet sharp eyebrows were knitted together. He was pondering non-stop. In that case, Qin Yu, I'll become your disciple. Black Dragon clenched his teeth and said. Qin Yu's strength was much weaker than his. If it was in the past, Black Dragon would also not be willing to become Qin Yu's disciple after killing him. However, the ability that Qin Yu displayed earlier was truly too abnormal. It was truly too attractive to Black Dragon. Qin Yu was stunned. Become my disciple. Become my disciple. Qin Yu shook his head and smiled. Black Dragon, this remarkable ability is called So Close Yet Worlds Apart. It is a secret ability that my sex heaven and earth sex successive generations of disciples did not pass on. Furthermore, in order to pass on this remarkable ability, one must obtain my master's permission. In a blink of an eye, Qin Yu came up with a lie. So close yet worlds apart. Black Dragon's eyes shined. Qin Yu nodded. That's right, So Close Yet Worlds Apart was created by my master after many years of research. It is meant for heavenly deity-level experts to use. Although it's not as fast as teleportation, it's not far from it. Right, it's not far from it. Black Dragon felt as if there were ants crawling on his heart. He truly wanted to learn this ability called So Close Yet Worlds Apart. This Black Dragon's pursuit of strength was not something that Qin Yu could understand. Black Dragon had ascended from the Devil Murder World. The Devil Murder World was different from the immortal, devil and demon realm. The Devil Murder World was a world of unceasing slaughter. Every single child that was born in the Devil Murder World, for the sake of their relatives or for the sake of their own status, would painstakingly train and kill unceasingly. Every single giant in the Devil Murder World was a valiant character proficient in slaughter and battle. When Black Dragon came out from the Black Dragon Pool, the footwork that he used to rush toward Qin Yu was the footwork that Black Dragon had comprehended after coming to the Divine Realm. Black Dragon had been in the Divine Realm for all these years. He had always wanted to become a true expert. The people from the Devil Murder World were practically all ruthless and cruel people. Being rejected by Qin Yu, Black Dragon's scarlet eyebrows started to crease. A sinister plan naturally appeared in his mind. If I were to continue to endure like this, who knows how many years it would take for me to become a character that could call the wind and summon the rain in the Divine Realm. Once I obtain this So Close Yet Worlds Apart ability, I would even be able to kill high-level heavenly deities. In an instant, he arrived beside a high-level heavenly deity and gave him a heavy attack. The reason why high-level heavenly deities were stronger than mid-level heavenly deities was because of their comprehension of the spatial laws. As for their pure attack power, there was not much of a difference. After killing Qin Yu and using this soul-seizing technique to obtain his soul memories, I would naturally learn the so close yet worlds apart ability. At the same time, I would also be able to obtain that high-quality heavenly divine artifact. Taking risks. The greater the benefits, the more willing some people would be to take risks, even if they were to risk their lives. After killing Qin Yu, learning the so close yet worlds apart, and obtaining the divine sword Scarlet Blood, he would be second only to God Kings. Humph, so what if his master is a God King? It's impossible for God Kings to search the divine realm with their divine awareness all the time. In the divine realm, there is simply no way to send messages. If I were to kill Qin Yu would also be unable to send a message to his master. If I were to kill Qin Yu, the probability of me being discovered by his master is very low. However, if I were to succeed, Black Dragon began to become resolute. This so close yet worlds apart, and the divine sword Scarlet Blood were truly too alluring. Rather than becoming a small bandit leader in the divine realm, it would be better for him to seize this opportunity and move about unhindered in the divine realm. At that time I will rely on a power, with the strength of the so close yet worlds apart, that I have learned, for example, Mount Blood Demon or Azura Sea. The God Kings of the Azura Sea will definitely protect me. Even if Qin Yu's master were to find out about this, what could he possibly do to me? After careful consideration, Black Dragon made the most important decision he had made since coming to the divine realm. He would kill a disciple that he suspected to be a God King expert. If he were to succeed, he would be someone second only to God Kings. If he were to fail, his soul would scatter. Good, I'll do this. When Black Dragon made his decision, he looked to his surroundings. However, he discovered that Qin Yu's figure had already disappeared. At the moment when he was pondering, Qin Yu had already escaped. Earlier, Black Dragon had a request for Qin Yu. Thus, he had even shrunk his spatial domain to his surroundings. Qin Yu had seized this opportunity to hide within the surrounding sea of white pure flames. In this great formation array, other than Black Dragon's surroundings, there were a large amount of white pure flames everywhere else. This caused the visibility to be extremely low. Black Dragon was simply unable to discover Qin Yu within the sea of white pure flames. In this divine great formation array, even one's divine awareness would not be able to carefully determine Black Dragon's location. What was Qin Yu doing? Within the sea of white pure flames, Qin Yu's figure was teleporting non-stop with a lightning-like speed. He would disappear from one place and reappear in another. As Qin Yu was the master of this great formation array, he naturally knew where Black Dragon was. Thus, Qin Yu would definitely not teleport to Black Dragon's side. Sure enough, it is as I thought. The universal world's spatial energy is capable of allowing me to teleport perfectly. Furthermore, it is also capable of forming a spatial domain. Merely, the binding power of this spatial domain ought to be inferior to a mid-level heavenly deity's true spatial domain. Qin Yu sighed in his heart. In the divine realm, the universal world's spatial energy was rejected by the divine realm's spatial energy. Otherwise, it wouldn't only be able to cover an area of 100 meters. How did Black Dragon get out of the great formation array? Qin Yu was puzzled. This was a killing formation, not an illusion formation or a trapping formation. Thus, it was naturally very easy for Black Dragon to get out. Qin Yu, do you dare to fight me head-on? Black Dragon's voice sounded. At this moment, at the edge of the 100-mile circumference Black Dragon pool, 5 blurs emerged from the bottom of the lake with lightning-like speed. These 5 blurs began to surround the great formation array from the side. If one was powerful enough, one would be able to clearly see that these 5 blurs all had short scarlet hair, scarlet eyebrows and the appearance of a youngster. That's right, every single one of them was a black dragon. These 5 black dragons all held a black stick in their hands. Chapter 526. The 5 black dragons were all mid-level heavenly deities. The long sticks in their hands were all mid-level heavenly divine artifacts. The speed of these 5 black dragons was extremely fast. Before Qin Yu even left the formation array, they had already surrounded the formation array. 6 Lord Black Dragons. Everyone who saw this scene was dumbfounded. 1 was the original Lord Black Dragon, and 5 had appeared later. There were actually 6 of them. Moreover, their appearances and weapons were exactly the same. In the distance, Mei Ji and Taoist Lu Su's expression changed. They glanced at each other. Mei Ji, Lord Black Dragon, has actually used his 6 clones. No, that's not it. What Lord Black Dragon has set up is Lord Black Dragon's strongest 6 directions extermination formation. In that case, wouldn't there still be? Taoist Lu Su's gaze was fixed on the ground where the 6 black dragons were located. Mei Ji's expression was also solemn. That Qin Yu actually forced Lord Black Dragon to use his full strength, activating the 6 directions extermination formation. In the entire Yuchi city, other than the Yuchi city's city master, that high-level heavenly deity Lord Yuchi Gonglun, no one else possesses this sort of strength. 6 directions annihilation formation. This was the Black Dragon's strongest move. This great array wasn't considered profound, but in the hands of the Black Dragon, it was able to display astonishing strength. This was because the Black Dragon could transform into 9 people. These 9 people were all doppelgangers. As long as one doppelganger did not die, Black Dragon would not die. The Black Dragon's true form was the 9-headed Black Dragon. It had brought about an endless amount of carnage in the devil murder realm. As a mutated monstrous beast, the 9-headed Black Dragon was able to create 9 clones that could exist independently. All of them possessed the strength of a mid-level heavenly deity. Below the ground surrounded by the 6 black dragons. Beneath the surface there were 3 tunnels. These 3 tunnels just so happened to be connected from the Black Dragon pool. The 3 black dragons were standing at the end of the tunnels. The 3 tunnels had been opened up by the 3 black dragons in a short period of time. There were 6 black dragons on the ground. Underground 3 black dragons. The 9 black dragons formed a perfect 6 directions extermination formation. Each of them had a spatial domain of several tens of meters, and when the 9 of them combined, their spatial domain could cover a distance of nearly 1,000 meters. The 6 black dragons on the ground were rather far from each other, and Qin Yu had just stepped out of the killing formation's range. As soon as he exited the array, Qin Yu saw a black dragon in front of him. "Black Dragon, you want to fight me head-on?" Qin Yu said aloud, but just as he spoke, Qin Yu seemed to sense something and looked to the right, only to see another person in the distance. Crimson hair, crimson eyebrows, the appearance of a cold youth, and the long staff in his hand. Another black dragon. Qin Yu couldn't help but turn his head to look in front of him. Qin Yu suddenly looked behind him, to the left, to the front, to the left, to the back. His lightning-fast sweep caused Qin Yu to break out in a cold sweat. Another black dragon, a total of 6 black dragons. Furthermore, these 6 black dragons all had 6 black rods. Even their auras were the same. 6 mid-level heavenly deities and 6 mid-level heavenly divine artifacts. Qin Yu was truly confused. Exactly what was going on? How could there be so many identical heavenly divine artifacts? Was it an illusion? Qin Yu didn't have time to think because the 6 black dragons attacked at the same time. Qin Yu! With a loud shout, the 6 black dragons all moved at the same time. Each and every one of the black dragons created several tens of afterimages. In an instant, there were several hundred afterimages. And at the same moment, spatial domain. Qin Yu discovered that he was unable to move. Something's wrong, I am over 100 meters away from each and every one of them. This spatial domain has such a large range. Even now, Qin Yu still didn't know that when the 9 black dragons joined hands, their spatial domain had a range of over 1,000 meters. At this moment, I am not in the formation. There are still several 100,000 people watching from afar. If I were to use teleportation, I would definitely be discovered by them. This matter would be spread out. No, teleportation absolutely cannot be spread out. Qin Yu absolutely did not wish to expose his ability to teleport. That was because Qin Yu knew what the consequences would be if he were to reveal it. Faced with the fatal attack of his opponents, even if he was unable to block it, he could at most hide in his universal world and wait for a period of time before coming out. He absolutely could not use teleportation. If he were to suddenly disappear, others might suspect that he possessed a spatial divine artifact. Although spatial divine artifacts were extremely precious in the divine realm, they were not as shocking as a heavenly deity capable of teleportation. Qin Yu, you're dead meat. The 9 black dragons were all excited. At this moment, Qin Yu had not discovered that there were 3 more black dragons below the formation that were about to attack. Suddenly, a sharp and clear voice sounded. Tanjiu, stop. A yellow-clothed figure was floating over from afar. It was Huang Jing. Huang Jing gently extended her right hand and made a grabbing motion with her right hand. Qin Yu was able to clearly see that a space close to 10 meters within the 6 directions extermination formation had completely shattered. Numerous black cracks appeared before his eyes. Space shattered. The 6 black dragons acted as if they had been paralyzed. Their movements came to a sudden stop. With shock, they looked to the yellow-clothed woman floating over from afar. Who is this woman? She's actually capable of destroying space. Since when did Yuchi City have a female high-level heavenly deity? The black dragons knew very well that his opponent had already been lenient toward him. If she were to be ruthless, she would likely be able to directly destroy one of his clones. With merely 9 attacks, all 9 of his clones would be finished. Regardless of how unwilling they were, the black dragons had still stopped. Tanjiu, there's no need for your other 3 clones to continue hiding underground, said Huang Jing with a light smile. At this moment, the black dragons could only try their hardest to squeeze out a smile. The 3 clones underground appeared beside Qin Yu. Upon seeing these 3 black dragons, Qin Yu was unable to refrain himself from sweating cold sweat. At this moment, one of the black dragons turned to Taoist Lu Su and ordered, Lu Su, order everyone to move away. Do not obstruct us here. Yes, Lord Black Dragon. Taoist Lu Su immediately accepted the order. Under the orders of Taoist Lu Su and Mei Ji, the majestic several 100,000 deities immediately dispersed. Only the 9 black dragons, Huang Jing and Qin Yu, remained beside the great formation array that Qin Yu had set up. Qin Yu, we meet again, said Huang Jing to Qin Yu with a smile. Qin Yu also expressed his thanks. Miss Huang Jing, thank you for saving my life. Oh, that's right, why did you call this black dragon Tanjiu? Huang Jing looked to the black dragons. Tanjiu, you can say it yourself. The 9 black dragons actually gathered together at the same time. After that, the 9 of them fused into a single person. At the same time, 9 black sticks appeared in the hands of this black dragon. These 9 black sticks became shorter. Each stick was only a foot long. The black dragon rubbed his hands together, and the 9 sticks formed a 9-section whip. My true form is that of a 9-headed black dragon. Thus I call myself Lord Black Dragon. When I was born, my parents gave me the name Tanjiu. At this moment, the 9-headed black dragon Tanjiu did not possess the slightest bit of arrogance. Faced with a high-level heavenly deity, he did not dare to be arrogant. So that's the case. 9-headed black dragon. Qin Yu was also able to guess that this Tanjiu's parents must have given him the name Zhou, because their child had 9 heads. This 9-headed black dragon Tanjiu looked to Huang Jing. May I know your lordship's name? My surname is Huang, said Huang Jing indifferently. Lady Huang. The 9-section whip in the 9-headed black dragon Tanjiu's hand shook and turned into a long stick. May I know how Lady Huang knew of my name? In the divine realm, there are not many people who know of my real name. Huang Jing lightly smiled and said, it was the commander of the Yuchi city's army, Lu Yushi, Who told me of your name? Lu Yushi. Tanjio's expression changed. Huang Jing lightly smiled and said, I chatted with Lu Yushi for a long time. Only then did I know that you, the bandit leader Tanjio, actually came from the devil murder realm at the same time as Lu Yushi. You both ascended to the divine realm at the same time. Furthermore, you both reached the mid-level heavenly deity level at the same time. And now, one of you is the bandit leader while the other is the commander of the Yuchi city's army. Haha, this matter is truly strange. Qin Yu looked to Tanjio. He was able to sense that there was a special relationship between Tanjio and the commander of the Yuchi city's army, Lu Yushi. Lady Huang, I do not know what Lu Yushi said to your lordship for your lordship to personally come here. Tanjio's expression became a bit unnatural. He was cursing in his heart. Lu Yushi, you bastard. If you have the ability, then come and fight with me yourself. Why did you have a high-level heavenly deity come here? Huang Jing lightly smiled and said, Tanjio, I presume you've already guessed what he said. Why did you hide yourself in the Black Dragon pool for so many years? What did he tell me? Tanjio's eyes jumped. His pair of scarlet sword-like eyebrows were knitted together. A baleful aura was born between his brows. Lady Huang, must you insist on fighting over it? Tanjio slowly said. Qin Yu was able to tell from Tanjio's words that this Tanjio seemed to have hidden himself in the Black Dragon pool for countless years for the sake of a certain item. Furthermore, it seemed that only that Lu Yushi and Tanjio knew about this information. Huang Jing smiled indifferently. Tanjio, that thing might be extremely important to you and Lu Yushi. It might also be somewhat attractive to me. However, the two of you have spent countless years trying to obtain it. I am also not someone who will snatch away what you love. Thus, I will naturally not interfere. Between you and Lu Yushi, it will depend on your own ability as to who will obtain it. Nine-headed black dragon Tanjio immediately heaved a sigh of relief. At the same time, he began to suspect the background of this yellow-clothed woman. Even for high-level heavenly deities, there were not many that would not care about that treasure. Furthermore, Lu Yushi had told this woman about this secret. That bastard Lu Yushi. How could he be willing to tell this woman about this secret? Could it be that Lu Yushi wants to curry favor with this woman? Tanjio looked to Huang Jing. He and Lu Yushi had been fighting since the devil murder realm. Even now, after countless years, the two of them were still equally matched. Thus, he naturally knew about Lu Yushi's temperament. The reason why I have come here today is actually to see this friend of mine. Huang Jing looked to Qin Yu. Qin Yu was unable to refrain his shock. Miss Huang Jing Yu. I obtained news that a heavenly deity had appeared in Mount Bewitchu. The time that heavenly deity appeared was close to the time when you and I separated. Later on, I heard that this heavenly deity had even killed his way to the Black Dragon pool. Thus I suspected that it was you. Upon seeing it, I discovered that it was indeed you. Huang Jing said with a smile. Qin Yu, you ought to have just reached the heavenly deity level, right? Might you be interested in going to Mount Dazzling Gold to train? Chapter 527. Go to Mount Dazzling Gold. In Qin Yu's heart, the center of authority and power in the eastern region of the divine realm was this floating mountain, Mount Dazzling Gold. The utmost East Sage Emperor and close to 10,000 heavenly deities were also gathered here. Sharpening the blade will not delay the work of chopping materials. It would be better for me to concentrate on training in the array path. It would not be too late for me to go to Mount Dazzling Gold after I have some accomplishments. Qin Yu thought in his heart. At the same time as he was studying the array path, his soul's level was also slowly increasing. According to the experience left behind by the craftsman god Cheho Yuan, once one reached the 8th level of formation array, one would be a peak high-level heavenly deity. Qin Yu looked to the yellow-clothed woman before him. Suddenly, he seemed to be able to see the long hair flutteringly air. Ah! Qin Yu was suddenly woken up. That's right, This Huang Jing is the large group captain of Mount Dazzling Gold and a high-level heavenly deity. She should be someone from the core circle of the utmost East Sage Emperor's power. She most definitely knows about the surnames of the 8 great families of the divine realm. She might even know about Lier. Uncle Fu was the butler of the bewitching god temple, a puppet created by the craftsman god Cheho Yuan. It was normal for him to not know about many secrets. However, this Huang Jing was someone from the core power of Mount Dazzling Gold. "Qin Yu, what are you still thinking about?" Huang Jing said with a light smile. "In the vast divine realm, the 8 great sage emperors all reside in their own places. You've already reached the heavenly deity level. If you continue to work hard in a small place like Yuchi City, your accomplishments would not be too great. In Yuchi City, a low-level heavenly deity is already extraordinary. However, in Mount Dazzling Gold, any random person would be a heavenly deity." Huang Jing stared at Qin Yu. "I believe that you should not be willing to stay in the territory of Yuchi City, right?" Hearing what Huang Jing said, Qin Yu's heart was moved. When he had just arrived in the divine realm, his strength was indeed relatively weak. However, his stellar transformation had reached the universe realm. He had created a new world. With his universal world, Qin Yu was able to teleport using spatial energy. In addition, the divine spear waning snow was absorbing the chi of heaven and earth. Its attack power was also shocking. "Indeed, the current Yuchi City is no longer a challenge to me. The number of people that could be considered as my opponent can be counted with one hand." Qin Yu sighed in his heart. Ordinary low-level heavenly deities were simply no match for him. Even if it was a mid-level heavenly deity, he would still be able to fight against them. If he were to risk his life and use teleportation, then it would indeed be very difficult for him to kill Qin Yu in close combat. Only at this moment did the 9-headed black dragon Tan Jiu become certain that the yellow-clothed woman before him was actually from Mount Dazzling Gold. Tan Jiu became even more careful with this Huang Jing. At this moment, he tried to persuade Qin Yu. "Qin Yu, since Lord Huang Jing has personally invited you, you should accept." That's good." Qin Yu was just about to agree when he suddenly stopped. "What's wrong?" Huang Jing looked to Qin Yu with a puzzled expression. Qin Yu started to frown. He recalled a bad thing. "This Huang Jing thinks that I have reached the low-level heavenly deity level. However, I am actually only a high-level deity. I am only able to fly by relying on the assistance of Lu Xing's tear. The energy that I am currently using is divine energy. Huang Jing currently thinks that I have just reached the low-level heavenly deity level and have yet to transform my divine energy. However, if I continue to use divine energy, after arriving at Mount Dazzling Gold for a long period of time, I reckon that it would arouse the suspicions of many people. Furthermore, Mount Dazzling Gold is the utmost East Sage Emperor's territory. That utmost East Sage Emperor's strength is unfathomable. If I am to be suspected by him, it would be very troublesome." Qin Yu immediately thought of this problem. Since he was using divine energy, how could he possibly make the close to 10,000 heavenly deities of Mount Dazzling Gold not suspect him? Exactly how long would it take to reach the low-level heavenly deity level from the peak of the high-level heavenly deity level? Qin Yu was also very anxious and helpless. From the peak of the high-level deity level to the low-level heavenly deity level, this was a checkpoint where tens of billions and hundreds of billions of deities of the divine realm were trapped. If the time needed to break through was too long, if he were to not use his divine energy for a long period of time, he would definitely be suspected by the people of Mount Dazzling Gold. "Miss Huang Jing, I also have a trace of expectation for Mount Dazzling Gold. Merely the current me is still too weak. I have yet to even completely transform my divine energy. I think it wouldn't be too late for me to go to Mount Dazzling Gold after my strength increases a bit." Qin Yu persuaded. Huang Jing nodded. She seemed to be a bit disappointed. However, she still displayed a smile. "Good, when the day comes that you are willing to go, you merely need to go to Mount Dazzling Gold and report my name." "Thank you, Miss Huang Jing," Qin Yu said gratefully. Although Qin Yu was saying these things, there was a matter that was bothering him in his heart. Exactly what are the 8 great families of the divine realm? Which family does Zhongli belong to? Qin Yu wanted to ask Huang Jing. After seeing the lean youngster black dragon beside him, Qin Yu looked to Huang Jing and said via divine awareness voice transmission. Miss Huang Jing, I have a matter that I wish to ask you. Merely, I am worried that I might be too abrupt. The divine realm's most mysterious, most ancient and most powerful 8 great families had always kept their surnames a secret. Even if Huang Jing knew about it, how could she possibly tell him, an ordinary nobody that she had only met a few times? Hearing Qin Yu's divine awareness voice transmission, Huang Jing was slightly surprised. She also understood that the matter that Qin Yu wanted to ask might be rather secretive. Lady Huang Jing, the two of you can chat first. I still have matters to discuss with this Qin Yu later. Seeing the expressions of Qin Yu and Huang Jing, Black Dragon Tanjiu guessed that the two of them had a secret matter to discuss. Thus, he immediately walked several miles away from them. A series of ripples appeared in the space surrounding Huang Jing. Immediately, the surrounding space was controlled by Huang Jing. Qin Yu, if there's anything that you want to say, feel free to say it. In this domain, outsiders will definitely not be able to hear our conversation, said Huang Jing with a light smile. I truly wish to know what you want to ask me. Qin Yu took a small breath and then stared at Huang Jing. Huang Jing also felt that the atmosphere was unusual. The smile on her face was no longer present. Miss Huang Jing, I merely wish to ask about the divine realm's 8 great families, the families that the 8 great sage emperors belong to. What are their surnames? Is there anyone with the surname Jiang? Which power is it? Qin Yu asked in a single breath. After he finished asking, Qin Yu felt that both of his hands were slightly trembling. Even his muscles were slightly trembling as he stood there. Nervous. Qin Yu truly felt very nervous. He merely looked at Huang Jing and waited for her answer. Huang Jing's expression slightly changed. Looking at Qin Yu, her pair of curved willowy eyebrows knitted together. Puzzled, she asked, You're asking about the surnames of the 8 great families? Why are you asking this? Qin Yu's face was slightly red. He felt as if he was an ant on top of a pot. Miss Huang Jing, I merely wish to know. This matter is very important to me. Can you tell me exactly which 8 surnames are there? And which one is the surname Jiang? Qin Yu repeatedly asked. At the same time, the speed of his speech became faster and faster. Even Huang Jing was able to sense the sense of urgency brought forth by Qin Yu. I'm sorry, I'm too anxious. Miss Huang Jing, if this matter is too important to tell me, I won't force you. If you're able to tell me, then I am begging you. Please, can you please tell me this? Qin Yu looked at Huang Jing with longing. Huang Jing was silent for a few breaths of time. Then she smiled slightly. All right, I'll tell you this matter. However, I hope that you won't spread this matter outside. The surnames of the 8 great families are not allowed to be spread casually. Thank you. I definitely won't spread this matter outside. I definitely won't. Qin Yu repeatedly promised. Qin Yu naturally knew that the surnames of the 8 great families were not allowed to be spread casually. At this moment, for Huang Jing to tell him, Qin Yu felt grateful towards Huang Jing. The 8 great families of the divine realm were born when the divine realm was born. The surnames of the 8 great families are only known to the upper echelons of the divine realm. As for the surname Jiang, that you mentioned, it is indeed one of the surnames of the 8 great families. When Huang Jing said this, she smiled slightly at Qin Yu. At this moment, Qin Yu's deep and serene eyes were as dazzling as the resplendent stars. As expected, Qin Yu felt as if his heart was hanging by a thread. His entire being was in a state of nervousness. Huang Jing continued. The surnames of the 8 great families of the divine realm are Huangfu, Tang, Mu, Jiang, Duanmu, Shentu, Putai and Zhou. The utmost East Sage Emperor's family is the Huangfu family. A thought flashed through Qin Yu's mind. The eastern regions of the divine realm are the sphere of influence of the Huangfu family. Then, he threw this thought to the depths of his mind. Qin Yu continued to stare at Huang Jing. He was looking forward to finding out which family the Zhang family was. The 8 great lands of the divine realm are the northern continent's floating snow city, the southern continent's light lens city, the eastern continent's Mount Dazzling Gold, the western continent's Blazing Mountain, the northwestern Thunder Punishment City, the northeastern Forest Ocean City, the southeastern Underground City, and the southwestern Jade Wave Lake. Huang Jing finished speaking in a single breath. Then she smiled at Qin Yu. Seeing that Huang Jing didn't say anything, Qin Yu couldn't help but say anxiously, "Miss Huang Jing." Huang Jing smiled. "I know you're anxious. This Zhang family is the utmost North Sage Emperor's family of the 8 great families of the divine realm. Almost all of the Zhang family's clansmen live in the floating snow city. Qin Yu, are you satisfied?" Floating snow city, floating snow city. In an instant, Qin Yu's mind was filled with the 3 words floating snow city. The blood in his body felt as if it was boiling. At this moment, Qin Yu seemed to have lost the ability to think. When Huang Jing saw that Qin Yu's skin had turned red and he was in a dazed state, she couldn't help but be surprised. Qin Yu's body trembled. Then he sobered up. He immediately looked at Huang Jing and said anxiously, "Miss Huang Jing, I would like to ask if you know a girl called Zhang Li." "Zhang Li? You know little sister Zhang Li too?" Huang Jing was surprised. "Don't tell me that you're also chasing after little sister Zhang Li." Chapter 528. When Qin Yu heard Huang Jing's question, he suddenly woke up from his stupor. The relationship between him and Lier couldn't be known to outsiders yet. His current strength was too weak. Qin Yu immediately asked, "Chasing after Zhang Li? Miss Huang Jing, why do you say that? Could it be that there are a lot of people chasing after Zhang Li?" Huang Jing looked at Qin Yu suspiciously. Qin Yu felt a lingering fear in his heart. If he did not wake up from his stupor when Huang Jing questioned him, he might have really blurted it out. "Miss Huang Jing, what are you thinking about?" Qin Yu said with a faint smile. In a short moment, Qin Yu's emotions had completely calmed down. Huang Jing glanced at Qin Yu a few times and then said, "Of course there are a lot of people chasing after Sister Zhang Li. This involves a big secret. I will not tell you about it for now." "Involves a big secret? What secret is so mysterious?" Qin Yu smiled. Huang Jing shook her head and did not say anything. Actually, this secret was not a big secret. After all, almost all the upper echelons of the divine realm knew about it. Otherwise, there would not be so many heavenly deities chasing after Zhang Li. However, Huang Jing did not want to tell this secret to Qin Yu. "Actually, Sister Zhang Li is quite pitiful." Huang Jing sighed. Qin Yu's heart trembled. What happened to Li Er? How was she pitiful? However, Qin Yu pretended to be curious and asked, "Zhang Li is pitiful? How is she pitiful?" Huang Jing shook her head and sighed. "Zhang Li is a member of the Zhang family in the North Pole. Her status can be considered high. Logically speaking, she should be able to live a carefree life. After all, forced marriages are very rare nowadays. In the divine realm, there are also very few people who crazily like someone. However, ever since that shocking battle, Sister Zhang Li's situation has not been good. There are a lot of people chasing after her, and many of them have extremely high statuses. With so many people chasing after her, does this mean that she is charming? If that is the case, then it would be great. The most tragic thing is that among this large group of people chasing after Sister Zhang Li, not many of them actually like Sister Zhang Li." Huang Jing sighed. A group of people who did not like her, but chased after her. This was indeed sad. Qin Yu felt a burst of anger rising from the bottom of his heart, but he tried his best to maintain a calm expression on his face. "Miss Huang Jing, those people don't like Zhang Li. How can they pursue her? It's all for the chance to become a deity king." Humph, that group of people all wanted to become the new God King. Little sister Zhongli is truly pitiful. If she were to marry any of them, then. Fortunately, there's still senior Zhonglan to help little sister Zhongli. Otherwise, little sister Zhongli would have already been forced to marry someone else. Huang Jing sighed. Qin Yu's heart trembled. Marry and become someone's wife. These words made Qin Yu's heart tighten. Although he knew that this had not happened, just thinking about it made Qin Yu's heart tighten. Qin Yu didn't know what he would do if Li Er really became someone else's wife. Uncle Lan Li Er. Qin Yu clenched his teeth tightly. At this moment, it was as if his determination had been engraved onto his soul. Li Er, persevere for a bit longer. When I possess sufficient strength, I will definitely openly step into the floating snow city. The current Qin Yu needed to endure hardships and train diligently. He would only display his splendor in the future after he had accomplished something. Miss Huang Jing, I, Qin Yu, am endlessly grateful for what you've told me today. Qin Yu bowed to express his thanks once again. Huang Jing immediately narrowed her eyes with a smile. It's nothing. When you arrive at Mount Dazzling Gold in the future, you will also know about these things. Huang Jing turned around and looked to the nine-headed black dragon Tanjiu in the distance. This Tanjiu said that he has something to discuss with you. You can discuss it with him now. Huang Jing said with a smile. At the same time, she retrieved her spatial domain. His short scarlet hair stood erect like steel needles. Under his scarlet sharp eyebrows were a pair of gloomy and baleful eyes. The nine-headed black dragon Tanjiu, with the appearance of a lean youth, was standing on an open space with a cold expression on his face. The mountain wind of the ravine whistled past and blew onto his body. However, Tanjiu's appearance did not change in the slightest. This Qin Yu, I hope that he will not fight to the death with me. Tanjiu had a matter that caused him to feel vexed. Qin Yu's identity. From Tanjiu's point of view, Qin Yu possessed a high-quality heavenly divine artifact and also knew the extraordinary ability. So close yet worlds apart. On top of that, Qin Yu had also said that he had a master. Today he, Tanjiu, was planning to kill Qin Yu. However, at the final moment, his plan was ruined by Huang Jing. However, Tanjiu also started to worry. If Qin Yu were to inform the mysterious master behind Qin Yu of this matter and have that master kill him, what should he do? His desire to kill Qin Yu was something that Qin Yu had definitely sensed in the Six Directions extermination formation. Tanjiu believed that Qin Yu would definitely retaliate. Since Qin Yu was going to retaliate, then he must destroy Qin Yu from the very beginning. Kill Qin Yu. The scene of Huang Jing easily breaking through his strongest defensive formation appeared in Tanjiu's mind. He gave up on that idea in his heart. With Huang Jing present, it was simply impossible for him to kill Qin Yu. There's only a single method left. Tanjiu thought in his heart. Tanjiu, didn't you have something to discuss with Qin Yu? Suddenly, a clear and melodious voice sounded from beside him. Tanjiu was slightly startled as he looked to the side. Huang Jing, who was still far away from him earlier, had actually arrived beside him. Tanjiu immediately bowed slightly. Lady Huang Jing, the matter that I have to discuss with him is very short. Please wait a moment. After saying that, Tanjiu turned into a blur and arrived beside Qin Yu in a short moment. Tanjiu, go ahead and speak. Qin Yu looked to the nine-headed black dragon Tanjiu with a light smile on his face. Qin Yu was also very curious about this Tanjiu. A nine-headed black dragon was actually able to transform into a youngster after transforming into a human form. Spatial ripples spread out from the nine-headed black dragon Tanjiu's surroundings. The spatial ripples also covered an area of 100 meters. Spatial domain. Qin Yu did not retreat at all. That was because he believed that Tanjiu before him had tasted his teleportation ability and would not do anything stupid. Qin Yu, I merely wanted to apologize to you. Tanjiu bowed and said with a smile on his face. Apologize. Qin Yu looked to Tanjiu in confusion. Did this Tanjiu have some sort of problem with his head? Could it be that he wanted to apologize for killing him earlier? Was this something that could be solved with merely an apology? Of my 3 subordinates, you've killed Xiong He, seriously injured the other 2, and even destroyed a low-quality heavenly divine artifact. As the leader of the Black Dragon Pool, I had no choice but to come out and take care of you. If I were to let you go, how would I be able to convince the others? Tanjiu raised his scarlet eyebrows and continued. If I were to not kill you, no one would be convinced by me. Later on, I used the 6 Directions Extermination Formation to attack you. However, it was broken through by that lady Huang Jing. The nearly 1 million deities of my Black Dragon Pool would also understand that it is not that I do not wish to avenge my subordinates. Rather, I do not have the ability to avenge them. You cannot blame me for this. Tanjiu looked to Qinyu. Qinyu, I presume you understand the meaning behind my words now. Qinyu sneered in his heart. Aren't you trying to make me think that you, Tanjiu, were forced to kill me, Qinyu? Do you not have the desire to kill me? Tanjiu, I am able to understand your difficulties. As the leader of the Black Dragon Pool, there is nothing wrong with doing this. Qinyu said in a very considerate manner. Qinyu, for you to be able to understand me like this, I also feel a lot more relaxed. Tanjiu chuckled. However, Tanjiu was still skeptical in his heart. He did not believe that Qinyu would let him off so easily. Qinyu continued. Tanjiu, if there's nothing else, I'll be leaving first. Qinyu, I am someone who is unable to keep my mouth shut. Earlier, after finding out that you possess the remarkable ability so close, yet worlds apart, I was unable to restrain my mouth and told this matter to my trusted aide. Tanjiu said in succession. I am truly sorry. However, Qinyu, you can rest assured. This trusted aide of mine is much more tight-lipped than me. As long as I am here, he will definitely not spread this matter. Of course I believe in brother Tanjiu. Qinyu said with a light smile. However, Qinyu was cursing angrily in his heart. Humph, wasn't this Tanjiu threatening me that if I were to kill him, his trusted aide would spread the news of my so close, yet worlds apart remarkable ability? Tanjiu said to Qinyu. Qinyu, your so close yet worlds apart remarkable ability is truly extraordinary. If all the heavenly deities in the divine realm were to find out about it, who knows how many ambitious heavenly deities would risk their lives to have designs on you? There are a lot of heavenly deities in the divine realm who are willing to take risks. Qinyu grew even more furious. Tanjiu's intention was very clear. If he were to die and the news of so close, yet worlds apart was to be leaked, it would attract a large number of ambitious heavenly deities from the divine realm to come and deal with him. Willing to take risks. However, since it's taking risks, one must be prepared to die. It is not that easy to kill me. Qinyu said with a light smile. That's right, that's also what I think. Tanjiu nodded. Suddenly. Ha, Black Dragon, I've heard that even your Black Dragon Palace has been burned down by someone. An insolent roar was heard. That roar resonated through the heaven and earth like the rumbling of thunder. A robust man with bulging muscles and a height even more frightening than Xiong He flew down from the sky above the ravine. Big brother, it's not only the Black Dragon Palace, even the other 3 palaces have been burned down. Another robust man with a curly beard also flew down from the sky above the ravine. I've heard that it was done by a heavenly deity who is proficient in setting up formations. I truly wish to experience that. Another robust man flew down from the ravine. These 3 robust men with rock-like muscles, a stature even larger than Xiong He and auras 10 times more tyrannical than Xiong He's, were practically the same in appearance. What a tyrannical aura! Qinyu immediately turned his gaze toward these 3 men. These 3 robust men, I reckon they're 3 mid-level heavenly deities. There was a strange aspect about these 3 robust men. That was, all 3 of them had purple pupils. When the 9-headed black dragon Tanjiu saw the 3 men flying over, he started to frown. At the same time, he immediately created 3 clones from his body. The 3 black dragons that were created all held a long stick in their hands. Chapter 529. When Qin Yu saw Tanjiu's reaction, his brows started to frown. Were these 3 boars Tanjiu's enemies? The 3 purple-eyed robust men landed on the ground in succession. The leading purple-eyed robust man looked to the original location of the Black Dragon Palace and the other palaces. He started to laugh loudly. It would appear that what we've heard is true. Those palaces have all been burned to nothingness. Aya, Black Dragon, you've truly lost a great deal of face this time around. There's a formation here. Could it be that it's the formation set up by that heavenly deity proficient in formations? A purple-eyed robust man standing at the very back walked toward the great formation array that Qin Yu had set up with a face filled with excitement. That great formation array was a killing array that Qin Yu had set up. It was capable of shooting out white pure flames. Third brother, be careful. The leading purple-eyed robust man shouted. I'm fine. After saying that third brother directly stepped into the killing formation. Once he stepped into the killing formation, the entire killing formation was activated. White pure flames immediately filled the entire killing formation. White pure flames. This formation is truly abnormal. Let's go, let's go. Even if we were to use our spatial domain to block the white pure flames, it would still be very tiring after a long time. While his voice was still sounding, that third brother had already rushed out from the killing formation. Blocking the white pure flames with spatial domain would also be tiring after a long time. Qin Yu cast a puzzled glance at the 9-headed black dragon Tanjiu beside him. Not long ago, when this Tanjiu was in the killing formation, Qin Yu had thought that his spatial domain would be able to easily block the white pure flames. However, it would appear that it was not that easy. Thinking about it, the white pure flames were very powerful. If one were to use one's spatial domain to block them, one would definitely have to exhaust a certain amount of soul power. Qin Yu, do you know these 3? Tanjiu looked to Qin Yu. Qin Yu shook his head. Tanjiu looked to the 3 purple-eyed robust men walking over from afar. He said, there are 3 relatively large bandit powers outside of Yuchi City. One is my Black Dragon Pool. The other is Mount 3 Forks and Mount Cold Gold. These 3 boars are the 3 leaders of Mount 3 Forks. Mount 3 Forks. So it's them. Qin Yu understood. During his days in the Sealfield village, Qin Yu had learned about the legends of the 3 chiefs of Mount Sancha from the surrounding villagers. In the eyes of the villagers of the Sealfield village, the 3 chiefs of Mount Sancha were 3 valiant and barbaric heavenly deities. Among the 3 bandit forces, Cold Gold Mountain had the best reputation. Although Mount Cold Gold had the least amount of bandits, all of them were elites. They rarely robbed, but when they did, they would usually spend a lot of money. Haha, Black Dragon, I haven't seen you in so many years. I didn't even have the chance to spar with you. This time, us 3 brothers happened to pass by and learned that something big had happened here. I guessed that you would definitely appear this time. Haha, I was right. The third brother of the 3 violet-eyed muscular men laughed loudly. Tanjiu himself and his 3 clones, the 4 Tanjius, were all coldly looking at the 3 of them. One of the Tanjius frowned and said, Barbarian bandit, don't you try to show off your cleverness here. You 3 brothers have come to my place for 2 reasons. Firstly, to humiliate me. Secondly, to fight me. If you want to fight, then fight. I am already prepared. 3 clones. The leading violet-eyed muscular man frowned and said, Tanjiu, your 3 clones are going to fight against us 3 brothers. Could it be that you're actually confident that you'll be able to stop us 3 brothers with only 3 clones? Another man beside the violet-eyed muscular man said, Big brother, don't waste time with him. Let's go and trample on his 3 clones first. At that time, this black dragon will naturally become anxious. At this moment, Huang Jing had also walked over to Qin Yu's side. Qin Yu, go to the side. These 3 mid-level heavenly deities all possess pretty good strength. If they were to fight, they would likely affect the others," said Huang Jing to Qin Yu with a smile. What a beautiful little sister. Come, get intimate with your three great kings." The third brother of the three leaders of Mount San Forks, Man Bandit, opened his eyes wide. He stared at Huang Jing and shouted strangely. The cold and indifferent Tan Jiu was also slightly startled. He then looked to Huang Jing. Qin Yu also looked to Huang Jing. Take liberties with a high-level heavenly deity. For a high-level heavenly deity to kill a mid-level heavenly deity was simply an easy task. Neither Qin Yu nor Tan Jiu knew what sort of reaction Huang Jing would have. Seeing the expressions of Qin Yu and Tan Jiu, the three-man brothers also felt that the situation was bad. Immediately, the three-man brothers tried to use their divine awareness to inspect Huang Jing and the others. When they inspected Qin Yu, the three-man brothers were puzzled. That was because they discovered that Qin Yu possessed the divine energy of a high-level deity. Earlier, they had thought that Qin Yu was a heavenly deity. However, when they inspected Huang Jing, the three-man brothers were scared stiff. They were simply unable to see through Huang Jing at all. There were simply no powerful female experts in Yuchi City. Thus, Man Bandit tried to take liberties with Huang Jing earlier. However, who would have expected that he would end up kicking an iron plate? Third brother impudent. The eldest of the three-man brothers, Man Cho, was the more tactful one among the three brothers. He immediately shouted coldly. The second brother, Man Fan, slightly frowned and said no more. As for the third brother, Man Bandit, he started to mutter. Motherfucker, a random little girl that we encountered actually turned out to be an expert. Huang Jing's expression turned ugly. Who would dare to take liberties with her when they were in Mount Dazzling Gold? Never would she have expected that she would be taken liberties with by a boor here. Slap your own mouth 10 times. Huang Jing's expression turned cold. She coldly stared at Man Bandit and said coldly. Man Cho cupped his hands and said, "Young lady, my third brother is too impulsive. Young lady, please forgive him. Slapping your own mouth 10 times is a bit excessive. How about this? We three brothers will apologize to young lady and present gifts to express our apology. What do you think?" What heavenly deities wanted was face. If you were to slash him with a blade during a battle, he would not mind. However, if you were to have him slap his own mouth, the punishment would be extremely heavy. Huang Jing's gaze suddenly turned even colder. Her gaze was like an ice blade. She fiercely swept her gaze across the three brothers and shouted, "Slap your own mouths 100 times. Otherwise, today will be the day of your deaths." Tan Jiu was watching the show from the side. As for Qin Yu, he sighed in his heart. He never would have expected that Huang Jing, who had a pretty good temperament, would be this frightening when angered. Man Bandit looked to his eldest brother and second brother. He then looked to Huang Jing and snarled, "I am the one who took liberties with you. If you want to kill us, then go ahead. However, do not involve my eldest brother and second brother. Slap your own mouths 100 times or you three brothers will all die. Enough of your nonsense." Huang Jing's gaze turned cold. Immediately, everyone in the surroundings felt a burst of fear. Huang. Qin Yu was about to say something when Huang Jing coldly looked to Qin Yu. Qin Yu couldn't help but smile bitterly. He no longer said anything. Actually, Qin Yu had a very good impression of the three-man brothers. Especially when he saw the three of them. He recalled his good brother from the immortal devil and demon realm, Purple-Eyed Ox Demon Emperor Mangon. Furthermore, the three of them also had purple eyes and the surname Man. It might even be possible that they were Purple-Eyed Ox Demon Emperors. However, the current Huang Jing had already revealed the might of someone who had been in a high position for many years. Third brother don't. The second brother Man Fan stared at Man Bandit and said solemnly, "If worst comes to worst, us three brothers will fight against this woman. Although we are unable to discover her strength, she might only be a peak mid-level heavenly deity." Man Cho also looked to Man Bandit. His gaze had already expressed his intention. Man Bandit shook his head. This woman is too abnormal. Merely by her aura, I dare say that she should be a high-level heavenly deity. Man Bandit cursed angrily. Then, he began to ruthlessly slap his own mouth. Pa, 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 pa. The sound was sharp and clear. It was like the sound of leather being whipped. At the time when Man Bandit was ruthlessly slapping his own mouth, he even displayed a simple and honest smile to his two brothers. Merely at this moment, his face had already split open from the slaps. Blood was seeping out from his face. This Man Bandit was simply not showing any mercy when slapping himself. The slaps were extremely heavy. 100. I'm sorry, I was wrong. Man Bandit's voice was still as loud as a bell. However, Qin Yu noticed that Man Bandit's eyes were bloodshot on his face. Huang Jing coldly humphed. After that, Huang Jing calmed herself down and stood beside Qin Yu without saying anything. At this moment, Man Chou, Man Fan and Man Bandit felt a bit embarrassed. Man Chou instead chuckled to ease the atmosphere. He then said to Tanjiu, "Black Dragon, us three brothers have come here today with the intention of sparring with you. However, since this young lady is here today, we should... Don't bother about me. If you all want to fight, then fight." Huang Jing berated. Being berated by Huang Jing like this, Man Chao's words were interrupted. Man Chao's expression became a bit ugly. The three brothers glanced at each other and then turned around to leave. "Man Chou, you three brothers are leaving just like this?" Tan Jiu ridiculed. Seeing his old neighbor being humiliated like this, Tan Jiu was extremely happy. Man Bandit opened his eyes wide and shouted at Tan Jiu, "Humph, us three brothers are in a bad mood today. Originally we wanted to vent our anger on you. However, as this young lady is here today, we will not disturb you. Tomorrow we three brothers will come and find you tomorrow." As Man Bandit said those words, he opened his mouth with a sinister expression like a monster's. "Third brother, take care of your wounds." The second brother Man Fan said. Man Bandit slightly nodded. A layer of jade green light appeared on his face and the wounds on his face disappeared. Tanjiu sneered and said, "Vent your anger on me." What a boastful tone. Even if you three brothers were to join hands, you would at the very most only be able to make me send out 3 clones. Yet you're still so arrogant. Tanjiu was indeed qualified to be arrogant. After all, he was able to split himself into 9. Haha, this place is so lively. And here I thought that it would only be a battle between low-level heavenly deities. Never would I have expected that the Man family's 3 stupid oxen and that 9-headed bug that had been hiding the entire time would all appear. A clear and bright voice sounded. A golden-clothed figure appeared in the sky. Qin Yu raised his head to look. Upon seeing the person who had arrived, the first impression that Qin Yu had was handsome, dashing. The person who had arrived was wearing golden clothes and had the appearance of a youngster. His appearance was very sunny. Upon seeing this youngster, Qin Yu felt that this golden-clothed youngster and the 9-headed black dragon Tanjiu were polar opposites. Tanjiu had dark skin. As for this golden-clothed youngster, his skin was as white as an infant's. Tanjiu's gaze was gloomy and filled with killing intent. This golden-clothed youngster was very sunny and cheerful. Man family's 3 stupid oxen. I only went to find you all to spar. Why did you all always avoid me? Furthermore, you 9-headed bug, I was unable to find you every time I tried to find you. This time around I have managed to capture you all. None of you will be able to escape. Today, all of you will have to fight against me." The golden-clothed youngster said while laughing loudly. Qin Yu was surprised. Who was this golden-clothed youngster who had suddenly appeared? Judging from his tone, he seemed to be an extraordinary character. Lu Shui. Suddenly, a voice sounded from beside Qin Yu. It was Huang Jing who was standing beside Qin Yu. As for the golden-clothed youngster who had an excited smile on his face earlier, His gaze suddenly stopped. He looked at Qin Yu in confusion. No, to be exact, he was looking at Huang Jing, who was standing beside Qin Yu. The golden-clothed youngster tilted his head and saw Huang Jing, who was standing beside Qin Yu. Ah, big sister. The golden-clothed youngster opened his eyes wide. Big sister. Qin Yu was startled. The nine-headed black dragon Tanjiu also looked at Huang Jing in astonishment. He then looked at the golden-clothed youngster with an expression of disbelief. As for the three-man brothers, they also opened their eyes wide. After a long while, Man Fei muttered, "Never would I have expected that woman to be that battle maniac's big sister. Little brother is so powerful. Never would I have expected that big sister would be even more powerful. Lu Shui, what did you promise me when I left your place? Why did you come out right after I turned around and left?" Huang Jing said in a low voice. The golden-clothed youngster held his head and looked to the surrounding people. He then looked to Qin Yu. His eyes shined. He immediately changed the topic and said, "Big sister, seeing that you're standing so close to this person, you know him? Big sister who usually looks down on men. Why is she so close to a man?" Sure enough, Huang Jing no longer asked about the golden-clothed youngster coming out. She immediately explained. "His name is Qin Yu. I've met him a couple of times." "Lu Shui, you must not speak nonsense." Definitely not, definitely not. Hee, I listen to big sister the most," the golden-clothed youngster said. After that, the golden-clothed youngster walked to Qin Yu's side, cupped his hands and said, "Brother Qin Yu, I am one of the three great leaders of Yuqi City. Mount Cold Gold's leader, Huangfu Lu Shui. I presume you've heard of my great name." "Brother Huangfu, I am Qin Yu. Your big sister has already introduced me." Qin Yu immediately saluted. Only at this moment did Qin Yu come to know that this golden-clothed youngster was actually the leader of one of the three great bandit powers of Yuqi City, Mount Cold Gold. However, no matter how he looked at it, he was unable to tell that such a bright youngster was a bandit leader. At the same time, Qin Yu was also puzzled. Huang Jing's surname was Huang. This Huangfu Liushui's surname was Huangfu. Were the two of them siblings? Huang Jing smiled apologetically to Qin Yu. "Brother Qin Yu, I was originally planning to return from Mount Cold Gold. Now that you're fine, I shall take my leave first. I hope that we can meet again in Mount Dazzling Gold in the future. Miss Huang Jing, when my strength increases in the future, I will definitely go there," Qin Yu immediately said. This Huangfu Liushui's eyes immediately shined. He immediately smiled and said, "Big sister, take care." Chapter 530. Huang Jing glanced at Huangfu Liushui in annoyance. In the end she instructed, "Lu Shui, if you're tired of playing, then don't stay in that desolate Mount Cold Gold. Go back to Mount Dazzling Gold." Huangfu Liushui nodded obediently. However, Huang Jing knew that her words were probably useless. Otherwise, her younger brother would not have run away from home. Given his younger brother's rebellious personality, this was the only way he could persuade him. If he were to use force, the result would be even worse. "Alright, I'll be leaving now. Qin Yu, farewell." Huang Jing looked at Qin Yu. Qin Yu also saluted. "Miss Huang Jing, we will meet again at Mount Dazzling Gold." Huang Jing smiled when she heard Qin Yu's words. Then she soared into the air and flew towards the east. "Phew, we're finally gone." Huangfu Liushui laughed happily. No wonder Brother Huangfu possesses a high-quality heavenly divine artifact. So it turns out that you have an older sister with a high status in Mount Dazzling Gold. Tanjiu coldly humphed and said. Tanjiu's words contained jealousy. High-quality heavenly divine artifacts. Even on Mount Dazzling Gold, it was likely that only high-level heavenly deities with extremely high statuses would be able to obtain them. As for Tanjiu, he had also paid an enormous price in order to luckily obtain a mid-quality heavenly divine artifact. As for Man Chou, Man Fan and Man Fei, Although they were all mid-level heavenly deities, the three brothers were only barely able to obtain a low-quality heavenly divine artifact each. As bandits, it was not easy for them to obtain heavenly divine artifacts. Those three low-quality heavenly divine artifacts had already caused Man Cho and his brothers to spend a lot of effort. In the divine realm, the majority of low-level heavenly deities do not possess heavenly divine artifacts. That was because heavenly divine artifacts were too precious. This was also the reason why Meiji and Taoist Lu Su were jealous of Xiong He. Xiong He's low-quality heavenly divine artifact, the spiked club Mountain Crusher, was originally the weapon of the nine-headed black dragon, Tan Jiu. Tan Jiu only bestowed that low-quality heavenly divine artifact to Xiong He after obtaining it. Merely, that low-quality heavenly divine artifact was destroyed by Qin Yu. What? Are you jealous? Huang Fu Lushui turned his hand and took out a huge axe. The giant axe was entirely golden in color. As soon as the giant axe was taken out, Qin Yu could feel the terrifying momentum contained within the giant axe. If the divine sword Scarlet Blood had a sharp aura, then the giant axe had an incomparably heavy aura. Huang Fu Lushui caressed the enormous axe in his hand. It was as if he was caressing the skin of his lover. Tan Jiu, if you're jealous, then just say it. This high-quality heavenly divine artifact is something that I have spent a great deal of effort to obtain. With your status, unless you reach the high-level heavenly deity level and join a power, that power would be able to give you a high-quality heavenly divine artifact. Otherwise, with merely your current strength, you would only be able to obtain a high-quality heavenly divine artifact in your dreams. Tan Jiu coldly snorted and took a glance at Qin Yu beside him. Tan Jiu cursed in his heart. Huang Fu Lushui, if it wasn't for that older sister of yours, I fear that a high-quality heavenly divine artifact would have already been in my hands. Furthermore, I might even have learned the remarkable ability. So close, yet worlds apart. What's there to be jealous about? It's not like you're the only one here with a high-quality heavenly divine artifact. Tan Jiu raised his scarlet brows and said coldly. Who else has a high-quality heavenly divine artifact? Huang Fu Liushui's eyes shined. As for Man Cho, Man Fan and Man Fei, they all looked to Tan Jiu in amazement. Man Fei even said, there's someone with a high-quality heavenly divine artifact. Black Dragon, you'd best not make a ruckus. A high-quality heavenly divine artifact is no ordinary toy. Qin Yu frowned. Sure enough, that Tan Jiu looked to Qin Yu, pointed to Qin Yu and said, Brother Qin Yu possesses a high-quality heavenly divine artifact. That was bestowed to him by Brother Qin Yu's master. It is truly incomparably powerful. Qin Yu was furious in his heart. Tan Jiu turned to Qin Yu and said apologetically, That's right, Qin Yu, I am a person who is unable to keep my mouth shut. Earlier, I saw that Huang Fu Lushui was extremely arrogant and felt that it was unfair for you. Thus, I was unable to refrain myself from speaking out. Felt that it was unfair for me. At this moment, Qin Yu truly didn't know whether or not he should curse this Tan Jiu for being extremely shameless. Huang Fu Liushui's eyes shined. He turned to Qin Yu and said, Qin Yu, you also possess a high-quality heavenly divine artifact. I used my divine awareness to observe you. The divine energy aura you emitted is only that of a high-level deity. You possess a high-quality heavenly divine artifact, yet this nine-headed bug did not try to snatch it from you. Huang Fu Lushui took a glance at Tan Jiu. I know this nine-headed bug's temperament very well. He would definitely not be able to restrain himself. I have just reached the low-level heavenly deity level. I have yet to transform the divine energy within my body. Qin Yu immediately explained. This was the only explanation he could give. The souls of deities and heavenly deities were different from the souls of immortals and mortals. Upon reaching the perfection soul realm, a deity's soul would condense into the soul Jin Dan. As for heavenly deities, their souls would form the nascent soul. The souls of deities and heavenly deities were all material entities that were hidden deep within their minds. It was simply impossible to inspect them. As for the divine energy and heavenly divine energy within one's body, it was very easy to determine. Those with high levels of power could use their divine awareness to obstruct others from inspecting them. As for those with low levels of power, they could only allow others to inspect them. Oh, so that's the case. Huangfu Lushui suddenly realized. Soon after, he said in confusion, "But you, a mere low-level heavenly deity, were able to block the nine-headed bug with merely a high-quality heavenly divine artifact. Although I am not fond of the nine-headed bug, to be honest, this nine-headed bug's battle prowess is extremely astonishing." Tan Jiu coldly humphed from the side. "It was your big sister who saved me," Qin Yu explained. Huangfu Lushui immediately understood. He laughed out loud and said, "That's right. With my big sister helping out, if this nine-headed bug dared to attack you, it would be courting death." "Oh, that's right. Do you really possess a high-quality heavenly divine artifact?" "That's right," Qin Yu admitted. He extended his hand and the divine sword Scarlet Blood appeared in his hand. This sword is called Scarlet Blood. It is a high-quality heavenly divine artifact. It was bestowed to me by my master. In Qin Yu's heart, that craftsman god Cheho Yuan had indeed taught him like a master. Everything in the bewitching god temple was left to Qin Yu by Cheho Yuan. It would not be excessive to say that it was bestowed to him by his master. "Master, may I know your master's name?" Huangfu Lushui promptly asked. "Perhaps I might know him. Master has ordered me to not mention his name. I am truly sorry," Qin Yu said in a slightly apologetic manner. Actually, Cheho Yuan had also left a message for Qin Yu. He told Qin Yu, his successor, not to be discovered by others. Otherwise, merely his identity as the craftsman god's successor would cause many people to spy on him. Huangfu Lushui nodded. He was also someone who had seen the world. He would not have any malicious intentions just because of a high-quality heavenly divine artifact. "Nine-headed bug, and you three stupid oxen, my big sister has already left. There are no outsiders here either. Let's have a great battle here." Huangfu Lushui held the enormous golden axe in his hand and waved it about non-stop. Man Chou, Man Fan and Man Fei glanced at each other. The second brother Man Fan nodded and humphed. "That's fine too. Today, us three brothers had planned to fight against the Black Dragon. Merely our mood was ruined by your big sister. Now that your big sister has left, we can have a great battle." "That's right. Fuck, I have a belly full of anger that I have nowhere to vent," Man Fei promptly said. "Vent your anger. Vent it on me. I also have a belly full of anger right now." Tan Jiu's expression grew even gloomier. Today he had not had a smooth day. He had just lost a low-level heavenly deity subordinate and was about to kill Qin Yu. Furthermore, he had to worry about Qin Yu's master coming for revenge. How could he not be sullen? The three-man brothers stood to the side. The three brothers were each holding a trident. These tridents were low-quality heavenly divine artifacts. They were dark red in color and extremely heavy. Huangfu Lushui held the enormous golden axe in his hand and stood to the side with a smile on his face. The three-man brothers, Huangfu Lushui and the other three, were all looking at the nine-headed black dragon Tan Jiu. At this moment, Tan Jiu had already used all of his incarnations. 9 Tan Jius were standing there. Qin Yu was watching the battle from afar. The three-man brothers, Huangfu Lushui and Tan Jiu, were all mid-level heavenly deities. However, although they were all mid-level heavenly deities, there was a gap between their strength. "I'll go first," Huangfu Lushui laughed loudly. At the same time, he tossed the enormous axe in his hand into the sky. That enormous golden axe suddenly grew in size. It was like a large mountain. As for Huangfu Lushui himself, his body was emitting a misty golden light. His body streaked across a straight line and instantly rushed toward one of the Tan Jius. His metal-like fist was directly smashed toward that Tan Jiu's head. Immediately, Tan Jiu and Huangfu Lushui began to fight with lightning speed. Afterimages appeared all over the place unceasingly. Boom! The enormous golden axe's blade was close to 10 miles in length. However, the blade of the axe was still extremely thin and sharp. 10 miles in length, how enormous was that? The enormous golden axe was chopped down. Speed was extremely fast. In an instant, it ruthlessly chopped toward the other Tan Jiu. That Tan Jiu held the black stick in his hand and could only forcibly block it. Bang! Like an earthquake, Qin Yu felt that the ground was shaking. An enormous crack appeared on the ground. As for that Tan Jiu that was chopped by the axe, he was chopped into a deep ravine. After a while, an afterimage rushed out from the deep ravine. It was precisely that clone that was chopped into the ravine. At this moment, this clone had a pale complexion. He was seriously injured. You only know how to rely on your high-quality heavenly divine artifact. That clone Tan Jiu raised his scarlet eyebrows and shouted angrily. Huangfu Lushui, even if you possess a high-quality heavenly divine artifact, you will still be trampled upon by me. Of the 9 great clones, 6 of them rushed toward Huangfu Lushui at the same time. As for the remaining 3 clones, they began to fight the 3-man brothers one-on-one. Tan Jiu, the 3-man brothers and Huangfu Lushui were all mid-level heavenly deities. The 3 of them were all capable of forming spatial domains. Thus, it was possible that they were familiar with each other. They knew that if they were to use spatial domains, it would only be a waste of their soul's energy. Thus, with great tacit understanding, none of them used their spatial domains. 6 against 1. Holding the enormous golden axe in his hand, Huangfu Liushui's entire body turned golden. His fists, legs, knees, elbows. Any part of his body was capable of frantically attacking. The enormous golden axe in his hand was chopping down with lightning speed. What a valiant body! Qin Yu gasped in admiration. He had personally witnessed Huangfu Lushui shattering the high-quality divine armor worn by one of Tan Jiu's clones with a single punch. Qin Yu knew very well that when a mid-quality heavenly deity used a divine artifact, their defensive power would be astonishingly strong. However, Huangfu Lushui still managed to shatter it. 6 clones attacking one, yet this Huangfu Liushui's speed is actually able to keep up with them. This Huangfu Liushui's speed is truly astonishing. Furthermore, that enormous axe, those clones simply do not dare to block it. Qin Yu was able to clearly see that Huangfu Lushui was completely at an advantage against 6 clones. Qin Yu turned around to look at the other battlefield. 3 clones against the 3-man brothers. 1 clone against 1. It would appear that the 3-man brothers hold a slight advantage. That's true. Tan Jiu's clones possess mid-quality heavenly divine artifacts. Although it's only a part of a set of mid-quality heavenly divine artifacts, it's still very powerful. As for the 3-man brothers, they only possess low-quality heavenly divine artifacts. The 3-man brothers roared angrily and frantically attacked. The 3 Tan Jius were also trying their hardest to block them. This battle continued for an entire day. In the end, Tan Jiu seemed to be unable to continue on. After all, it was indeed very difficult for him to fight against 4 people by himself. Especially Huangfu Lushui. Tan Jiu knew that even if he were to fight Huangfu Lushui one-on-one, he would only be able to gain a slight advantage. And now he had only sent out 6 clones. Thus, he could only be trampled upon. Roar! Tan Jiu suddenly roared angrily. 9 clones gathered toward the center with lightning speed. After that, the 9 Tan Jius gathered into a single person. At the same time, the 9 black sticks gathered into a 9-section whip. Tan Jiu was able to clearly sense the vigorous and powerful energy within his body. Huangfu Lushui and the 3 of you, come again if you have the ability. Holding the 9-section whip in his hand, Tan Jiu shouted angrily. Haha, You're finally going all out. Delightful, delightful. Huangfu Lushui charged over while laughing loudly. As for the three-man brothers, they merely howled and charged over once again. 4 against 1. Qin Yu finally experienced the true strength of this Tanjiu. After the 9 great clones fused into one, Tanjiu's strength and speed both increased by a lot. Especially the 9-section whip in his hand. The 9-section whip could be both soft and hard. It could turn to attack and turn into a long stick to smash people. It could also be half soft and half hard. The 9-section whip could also be extended to bind people. Furthermore, the 9-section whip could also be broken apart and split into several sections to attack. Being held by the current Tanjiu, Qin Yu felt dazzled. Huangfu Lushui and the three-man brothers might not be able to coordinate very well. Even though they were fighting 4 against 1, they were only able to gain a slight advantage and were simply unable to defeat Tanjiu. His energy is completely condensed into his weapon. His attack power is completely condensed. Each of his kicks and each of his punches possess extremely astonishing attack power. They're no gorgeous moves. However, their power is extremely great. The majority of Qin Yu's attention was focused on Huangfu Lushui. After fighting for 3 days and 3 nights in the end, Huangfu Lushui and the others had no choice but to admit that even if they were to fight for several hundred more years, it would still be impossible for them to win. Thus they could only give up. Ha! Delightful, delightful. With a smile on his face, Huangfu Lushui walked over to Qin Yu's side. Qin Yu, how about coming to my Mount Cold Gold to play? Qin Yu had his own plans. He immediately said, I still have things to do. I'll go when I have the time. That's fine too. Huangfu Lushui nodded his head. He then secretly said to Qin Yu via divine awareness voice transmission. Qin Yu, I must remind you that you should quickly go to Mount Dazzling Gold and work hard to chase after my sister. Perhaps you might become my brother-in-law. Truly, I feel that my sister treats you pretty well. You are very promising. Qin Yu was startled. Seeing Qin Yu's expression, Huangfu Lushui immediately started laughing loudly. While laughing loudly, Huangfu Lushui flew away. You're tuning in to the Whispers of Romance YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.